Chapter 2883. If the client's mother was really being controlled, then she would exchange Gong Rong for the client's mother. But when she thought about the Gong family's armed forces and the police's involvement, Ning Shu's heart was in turmoil. Ning Shu couldn't help but kick Gong Rong awake. Gong Rong opened her eyes and stared blankly at Ning Shu. "Have we reached the shore? I have something to ask you." Ning Shu stepped on the stool and twirled the shiny table knife in his hand. Gong Rong stretched lazily and leaned to the side. She supported her head with her hand and asked lazily, "Ask away. Is my mother in your hands?" Ning Shu pinched the knife with 2 fingers and narrowed his eyes at Gong Rong's face. "I don't know what to say when you're like this. Can you not point the knife at me?" Gong Rong smacked her lips. "I'm a little thirsty. Give me some water." Ning Shu's expression was cold. "You only know how to drink water. What's the use of a useless person like you? Your mother is in our hands, but she was sent to a good hospital for treatment. After all, you're participating in the game. It's our duty to treat your family well." "Ning Shu, the mother was really in their hands. But you kidnapped me. I don't know what your mother's condition is now." Gong Rong spread her hands without any sincerity. Ning Shu could figure it out even if he used his toes to think. The client's mother's uremia was very serious. If she stopped treatment, her life was uncertain. The client died on an isolated island. Did the Gong family really pay for the client's mother's surgery? Ning Shu looked at Gong Rong suspiciously. He didn't believe Gong Rong's words. In the end, only one person received 10 million, and once they received the money, they faced the threat of jail. So angry, Ning Shu stabbed Gong Rong's leg with the knife. "Gong Rong, temperamental crazy woman." Ning Shu licked the bloody knife and stared at Gong Rong. Gong Rong's face was very pale, but she blinked. "You're quite sexy like this." Ning Shu almost cut his own tongue. He couldn't be bothered with him and continued to sail. Without Ning Shu watching, Gong Rong immediately grimaced and covered her bleeding leg. As soon as Ning Shu turned around, Gong Rong immediately retracted her painful expression. She propped up her chin and smiled. "What else do you want to ask? If anything happens to my mother, I'll kill you. You'd better hope that nothing happens to my mother." Gong Rong calmly replied, "I have nothing to fear. You have a cat disease and are about to die, but what if your sister dies too?" Ning Shu said with a smile. Gong Rong flipped her hair and pulled open her collar. "If there's anything, just come at me. Don't look for my sister." Ning Shu looked at Gong Rong's exposed fake chest. It was quite realistic. Ning Shu squeezed out a chuckle from his throat. He reached out his hand and crushed Gong Rong's fake breasts. "Next time, I'll crush your lower part." Ning Shu's gaze moved down and stopped between Gong Rong's legs. Gong Rong crossed her legs and calmly said, "I like humorous people like you. Help me crush the other side. Then it'll be symmetrical." Gong Rong puffed out her chest. Ning Shu also smiled and directly gave Gong Rong a big slap. "I don't mind helping you to slap the other side. That way, it'll be symmetrical." "Thank you, but I don't need it." Gong Rong stuck out her tongue and licked the blood stain on the corner of her mouth. Ning Shu nodded. This was the way kidnappers and hostage should get along. Whenever he thought that his client's mother was in the hands of the Gong family, Ning Shu would be very unhappy, very unhappy. After sailing on the sea for a few days, they finally reached the shore. We're here. The little black girl cheered. She shouted and then burst into tears. Finally, they managed to escape. God knows how scared she was in her heart. Ning Shu pulled the boat to the shore and pulled Gong Rong off the boat. This wasn't a very big bustling port. It was a small fishing village. Many people stared at Ning Shu and the other two. Ning Shu grabbed Gong Rong's hand. She didn't have a single piece of jewelry on her hand. Weren't they rich? Ning Shu pushed Gong Rong's hair aside to see if there were any valuable earrings on her ears. In the end, she didn't even have ear piercings. She couldn't even pretend to be a woman. Ning Shu looked at Gong Rong indifferently. "What do you have that's valuable on you?" Gong Rong rolled her eyes and then said, "I'm quite valuable, but no one here knows me." "What a waste." Gong Rong. Ning Shu didn't believe that Gong Rong didn't have anything valuable on her. Ning Shu's hands moved up and down. He pulled open Gong Rong's clothes and found sewing marks on the inside. Ning Shu tore open her clothes and a black card fell out. Gong Rong looked up and said, "If you use the black card to withdraw money, someone will soon know where I am." Ning Shu shrugged his shoulders. "It doesn't matter." Ning Shu asked someone where the bank was and then took Gong Rong to the bank. Ning Shu inserted the black card into the card slot and said to Gong Rong, "Enter the password." "Are you sure?" Gong Rong asked. The table knife in Ning Shu's hand spun quickly, reflecting a bright luster. "Pay how much?" 20,000. Gong Rong entered the password and withdrew 20,000 yuan. Ning Shu gave 10,000 yuan to the little black girl. "You go quickly. Don't stay with me. It's dangerous." "Sister. Go quickly." The little black girl took the money and turned out of the bank. Gong Rong said, "You can't even take care of yourself. You still have the mind to care about others. I think you're going to die in my hands. Why do you still worry about me?" Ning Shu retorted. Ning Shu looked at Gong Rong's messy long hair and pulled her to a barber shop. Although it was called a barber shop, it was actually an open-air barber shop on the street. "Master, just shave her hair for me. Don't worry about the hairstyle," Ning Shu said to the barber. Ning Shu pressed Gong Rong on the bench and did not let her move. "Little girl, it's a waste to shave her hair like this." Gong Rong's hair was slightly curly. It was black and very beautiful. "It's okay," Ning Shu said with a smile. The barber was also straightforward. He directly flattened Gong Rong's hair and directly made it flat. But Gong Rong with flat hair was still very handsome. The aunties and little girls passing by all looked at Gong Rong's face. Ning Shu also asked the barber to shave his hair short and make it look like a boy. After that, Ning Shu took Gong Rong to a clothing store and picked out men's clothes. Gong Rong was dressed in men's clothes. It was a simple t-shirt and jeans. But Gong Rong looked very handsome. Sure enough, she looked like a man and a woman. Ning Shu also put on men's clothes. Since they withdrew the money, the Gong family would be able to find this place according to the black card. They had to leave quickly and go back to find the client's mother. Gong Rong was still looking at herself in the mirror. She touched her flat hair. It's really hard to give up on one's natural beauty. Ning Shu pulled Gong Rong away and went to the station to buy tickets. Chapter 2885. Why did such an armed force suddenly rush in? Ning Shu stood up, his body tensed as he watched Gong Fu walk in. Gong Fu coldly said, "Sister, when can you change your bad habit of talking nonstop?" Gong Rong asked, "Finished eating so quickly?" "Sister, there's no need to talk so much with her. Capture her," Gong Fu lightly said. "Don't try to resist. These guns are the latest models. They are very lethal and very fast. If you obediently submit, you'll still be alive. If you resist, you won't even be alive." Gong Fu coldly said, "Sister, I don't like her. She doesn't have any self-awareness." Gong Fu coldly stared at Ning Shu. Probably because Ning Shu's attitude was too relaxed from the beginning to the end, it made Gong Fu's heart very unhappy. Ning Shu's expression was indifferent. "Why are you capturing me?" "Of course it's to complete my arrangements and let you be the last person. You'll receive a reward of 10 million. Don't you need money to save your mother? This money is enough for the surgery. But even if your mother is saved, you'll have to go to jail. No, maybe you'll have to eat a bullet." Ning Shu rolled his eyes, making Gong Fu's expression even colder. The short-haired Gong Fu was cold and emotionless. Her eyes were like ice shards. Gong Fu waved her hand and a person shot at Ning Shu. Ning Shu's hand on the table barely avoided the bullet. Ning Shu exclaimed in her heart. The speed of the bullet was really too fast. If it wasn't for the help of her mental power, she wouldn't have been able to avoid it. The Gong family actually had such an advanced weapon. Who knew how many armed forces were on this ship? If they all fired at her, Ning Shu didn't think she could avoid it. Ning Shu placed one hand on the table and grabbed the steak knife. His body slid on the table and slid to Gong Rong's side. With lightning speed he seized Gong Rong. Ning Shu grabbed Gong Rong's neck and laughed. "Do you believe that I won't kill her?" "Brother, sister, let go of my sister." Gong Fu's cold face cracked. Gong Rong burst into laughter and reached out to grab Ning Shu's hand that was around her neck. Gong Rong wanted to throw Ning Shu over her shoulder, but she found that Ning Shu was too strong. He was a man, but he couldn't pull the woman's hand away. Gong Rong's expression slowly turned serious. "What do you want?" Gong Fu coldly looked at Ning Shu and asked, "You better let go of my sister. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee that you will be able to leave this place alive." Ning Shu placed the shiny knife on Gong Rong's neck and pierced it, causing blood to seep out. "Even if I'm going to die, I'm going to drag your big brother down with me. No, big sister, who cares about him, will die together." Ning Shu felt that this scene was very familiar. She had fucking kidnapped someone again. He was afraid that she would end up in the same situation as before. This mission wouldn't fail, right? "Prepare a yacht for me. Fill the yacht with oil and put the little black girl on it." Gong Fu's face was cold. Ning Shu expressionlessly used the knife to stab Gong Rong's neck. "Go prepare the yacht." Gong Fu had no choice but to order the skinny man, Li Zhao. Li Zhao quickly bowed and went to do it. Ning Shu slowly moved towards the door. Gong Rong was taller than Ning Shu, so she could only bend her legs. It was very uncomfortable. Gong Rong opened her mouth and said, "Little girl, can we discuss this? I can walk on my own. It's very uncomfortable for you to drag me along like this." Ning Shu chuckled in Gong Rong's ear, "Even if it's uncomfortable, you have to endure it. I'm being pointed at by a gun. I'm very scared." Gong Rong couldn't help but say, "To be honest, we are so close, but I can't even feel your breasts." "Fuck you." Ning Shu kicked Gong Rong's leg. "If you talk nonsense again, I'll be scared and slit your neck." Ning Shu said indifferently, "But I touched your fake breasts." Gong Rong lowered her head and saw a hand on her chest. She asked, "How does it feel?" "Fuck, the quality of your silicone is not good," Ning Shu said while dragging Gong Rong to the deck outside. Many black muzzles were pointed at Ning Shu. "Fuck, there are so many guns. I'm a little scared," Ning Shu said. "Have you prepared the yacht that I asked you to?" "Are you scared?" Gong Rong asked. "I see that your heart is not beating and you're not panting. I don't think you're scared at all. You're the dead person whose heart is not beating and breath is not panting. If you let go of my sister, I'll let you go." Gong Fu coldly said, "I'll give you one last chance." Ning Shu didn't believe a single punctuation mark. He rolled his eyes and said, "How about I use you to exchange for your sister?" Gong Rong immediately said, "No, I'll be your hostage." "Sister." Gong Fu's voice was urgent. The little black girl was also taken out. Seeing such a confrontation scene, she was so scared that her black face turned white. Li Zhao came over and said, "Miss, the yacht is ready." Ning Shu said, "Is the yacht full of oil and food and water?" Li Zhao nodded. "Little black girl, you go to the yacht first, we'll leave here." Compared to the size of the ship, the yacht was much smaller. The little black girl hurriedly went up the ladder to the yacht. Ning Shu loudly said to the little black girl, "You check if there is food and water in the yacht." The sea was vast. Without food and water, it was easy to have an accident. "There is." The little black girl cupped her hands in front of her mouth and shouted to Ning Shu. Ning Shu was a bit annoyed. She kidnapped Gong Rong, so she couldn't climb down the ladder. Ning Shu moved back and looked at the small yacht below. "Fuck, I might as well jump down." Ning Shu moved to the edge of the deck and was about to fall down. Gong Fu immediately said, "Isn't the thing you want ready?" Ning Shu smiled, "Bye-bye." Ning Shu grabbed Gong Rong's neck, his body leaned back and fell down from the ship. He accurately hit the small yacht. Ning Shu circulated his qi in his dantian to reduce the force of the fall, but his body was still numb. Gong Fu was so shocked that she hurriedly ran to the side of the deck. She looked down and shouted loudly, big brother, quickly start the boat." Ning Shu said to the little black girl, I don't know how to drive a car, I don't know how to drive a boat." The little black girl stammered, "Actually, I know how to drive a boat." Gong Rong's heart was still entangled. "I fell from 30 meters and fell into the small yacht, but I didn't die, even the cushion under me didn't die." The current situation was really unimaginable. Gong Rong pressed on Ning Shu's body. She felt that her body was soft. Was this the reason why she didn't die? The question was why this woman didn't die. Fuck. Chapter 2886. When Ning Shu heard that Gong Rong wanted to start the boat, he sneered. Don't think that she didn't see so many guns pointing at her. She still needed Gong Rong to be on top of her as a shield to block the bullets for her. Gong Rong was very puzzled. If you don't let me start the boat, how will the boat go? Young Master Gong, you don't need to worry. Ning Shu released a huge invisible force, which drilled into the water and sank to the bottom of the boat. Then she pushed the small yacht away. We're moving. The little black girl said excitedly, but she was also smart. She did not stand up, but crawled in the cabin. Although it was called a small boat, it was really a small boat. It didn't even have a room. It was used for surfing and didn't even have a roof. What the hell? Gong Rong felt that he was dreaming. Otherwise, how could such a strange thing happen? No one was driving the boat, and the boat was running on its own. Moreover, it was running very fast. It was really like seeing a ghost. Ning Shu stretched out his hand and grabbed Gong Rong's beautiful long hair, pulling her head back. Gong Rong screamed in pain and was forced to raise her head. Get off my body, Ning Shu said coldly. Gong Rong looked thin, but he was quite heavy. It was probably because of his bones. Gong Rong was pulled by his hair and said in pain, let go first, I'll get up when you let go. Ning Shu let go of Gong Rong's hair, and Gong Rong got up from Ning Shu's body. Start the boat. Ning Shu used a knife to press against Gong Rong's waist. What the fuck? Gong Rong bared his teeth. Be careful, my kidney is on the ground. Do you know that a man's most important place is this place? Ning Shu, exercise? Isn't a man's most important little brother? Without a kidney, my little brother can't stand up. Gong Rong flipped his hair and climbed to the front to start the boat. The little black girl was somewhat confused as she listened to Ning Shu and Gong Rong's words. She really didn't understand the meaning of their words. Gong Rong steered the boat. Ning Shu was behind him, pressing a small knife against his waist. The speed of the ship was very fast, and soon the ship behind it became a small black dot. Little girl, don't point the knife at me. If a wave hits and the boat jolts, the knife will stab into my body. Gong Rong said helplessly. Ning Shu chuckled. Actually, I really want to poke holes in your body and watch your blood flow out like a fountain. Gong Rong was silent for a moment and then said, good idea. Ning Shu was constantly paying attention to the way Gong Rong steered the boat, and then silently memorized it. Stop, Ning Shu said. Gong Rong didn't stop. Ning Shu stabbed the knife into his flesh. Stop. Gong Rong stopped and touched his waist with his hand. His hand was stained with blood. He somewhat angrily said, didn't I say, don't stab my kidney? It doesn't matter if you have a kidney or not. Ning Shu sat in the driver's seat, patted his leg and said to Gong Rong, sit on it. Gong Rong was a bit confused. Sit on your thigh? Hurry up, sit on it. Because I'm worried about you. Only when you sit in front of me, you won't dare to do anything. Ning Shu was afraid that when he steered the boat, Gong Rong would counterattack or even jump into the sea. Then the bargaining chip in her hand would be gone. Gong Rong, men and women can't be separated clearly. What kind of man are you? If you want me to stab your throat with a knife, then stand still. Ning Shu held the table knife and was about to throw it over. Gong Rong was helpless and could only sit on Ning Shu's lap. You're so heavy, Ning Shu said in a deep voice. Ning Shu steered the boat and used the satellite navigation system to locate his position. Your legs are really uncomfortable. Gong Rong felt as if she was sitting on two bamboos. It was really fucking uncomfortable. I promise I won't cause any trouble. Be obedient and be your hostage. Don't make me sit on your lap, okay? Gong Rong said. Ning Shu immediately said, then hurry up and get up. My legs are going to be broken by you. Gong Rong stood up and stood beside Ning Shu. The wind blew her hair into a mess. Ning Shu's heart was in a mess. What was she going to do in the future? After kidnapping Gong Rong, Gong Fu would definitely not let the client's mother off. She had to return to land as soon as possible and go to the hospital to see the client. She had become a kidnapper now. If she didn't pull Gong Rong, she wouldn't even be able to get out of the boat. Gong Rong's face was hurting from the wind. She sat down and tidied her hair. Ning Shu glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. "You look really pitiful." Gong Rong coldly said, "Little girl, let me tell you. I'm only a hostage. Don't drool over my beauty." Ning Shu pulled the corner of his mouth and laughed. Who would drool over a perverted beauty? The weather was very hot. The little black girl took out bottles of pure water from the box and gave one to Ning Shu and another to Gong Rong. "Drink it sparingly. Who knows when we can leave the sea?" Ning Shu said. "As a hostage, you can only drink one mouthful." Ning Shu snatched the bottle from Gong Rong's hand. Gong Rong didn't look like a hostage. Could it be that she didn't look fierce enough? Gong Rong should be scared to death. Ning Shu stretched out his leg and kicked Gong Rong. Gong Rong looked at Ning Shu from the corner of her eyes. "What are you doing? Be honest." "I'm very honest." "Ning Shu, I beg you to be in fear and trepidation." Gong Rong was really not afraid of death. Ning Shu suddenly asked, "Do you not have long to live?" Gong Rong looked at Ning Shu and raised her eyebrows. This action was full of heroic spirit. She asked, "Why do you think so?" "You said that you have a cat disease. You're training your sister to be the successor of SR Group. You're not that old now. If you don't have long to live, you won't be so anxious." Especially after kidnapping Gong Rong's actions were too calm. She didn't seem to be afraid at all. The more Ning Shu thought about it, the more he felt so. Fuck, kidnapping a dying person was useless. If this person died in her hands, she would be a kidnapper and a murderer. Gong Rong smiled, but it made Ning Shu's heart sink. How can a beauty like me die? Ning Shu released his spiritual power and scanned Gong Rong from head to toe, inside and out. He wanted to see what was wrong with Gong Rong. Ning Shu didn't see any obvious changes. He only felt that Gong Rong's internal organs were aging rapidly. They were supposed to be young and healthy, but the internal organs were like the internal organs of a person in their 50s or 60s. Ning Shu didn't say anything. It seemed that Gong Rong could still live for a while. The days at sea were very boring. Gong Rong was a little tired and lay on the chair at the back to sleep. Ning Shu asked the little black girl to keep an eye on her at all times. Ning Shu was worried about the client's mother. He even suspected that after the client arrived at the island, her mother was controlled. Chapter 2887. Ning Shu's face was filled with joy as he asked Consort Xian, "Have you found a royal doctor?" Consort Xian's pale face flushed red as she said, "Qinxie has not found a royal doctor. Qinxie only thought that the weather was too hot and my spleen and stomach were not in good condition. Also, Qinxie's period has always been messy, so I did not pay much attention. BSP, the weather is so hot. You should find a royal doctor to get some pills to stimulate the appetite and strengthen the spleen," Ning Shu said with a smile. The royal doctor quickly came and took Consort Xian's pulse. Then Ning Shu said, "Empress, Consort Xian is already 1 month pregnant." "That's great. The emperor finally has a child." Ning Shu smiled as he said to Consort Xian, "From today onwards, you have to take care of the fetus. You cannot make any mistakes. The child you give birth to is the emperor's eldest son, so there cannot be any mistakes. From today onwards, I will eat, live, and sleep with you until the child is born. The harem needs a child too much. The emperor is not young anymore," Ning Shu said casually. Consort Xian was dumbfounded. Then she said, "Empress, Qinxie does not want to trouble you." Ning Shu waved his hand. "From today onwards, the most important matter in the harem is Consort Xian's dragon fetus. Give birth to the dragon fetus at all costs. If anyone dares to extend their hands, I do not mind cutting them off." Ning Shu's sharp gaze flashed across everyone present. The concubines were all frightened by Ning Shu's sharp gaze. They all bowed and said, "Qinxie obeys. You can all leave. Consort Xian, stay." Ning Shu waved his hand. The concubines all left. Consort Xian rubbed her stomach and looked at Ning Shu with a bit of fear. Extinguish all the incense in the room, Ning Shu said to She immediately used water to extinguish the incense in the incense burner and then opened the window. Although I do not know if the incense is harmful, it is best not to light it. In the future, do not light it in your hall, Ning Shu said to Consort Xian. Imperial concubine Xian nodded. Qin Xie will remember. This consort wasn't joking when she said that we would eat and live together. Don't think that I would do anything to you, said Ning Shu. This concubine really doesn't dare to trouble the empress. This concubine is deeply afraid. Concubine Xian's jade nose was dripping with sweat. Don't talk about these useless things. This empress won't do anything to you. On the contrary, this empress wants to protect the child in your belly. Right now, everyone in the court, including the emperor, thinks that this empress is immoral. If you lose your child, do you think this empress will have a good ending? This empress will be frank with you today. You must have this child. Consort Xian bowed. Thank you, concubine, but it's just living and eating together. It's not a big deal. From today onwards, I'll live with you in your palace. Ning Shu said to Shi, just pack some clothes. Nyang. Shi was somewhat disapproving. The empress was living in the concubine's palace. Go. After that, Ning Shu moved to concubine Xian's Weiyang Palace. He had people carefully inspect everything in Weiyang Palace, including some antiques, calligraphy, paintings, jewelry, rouge, and some clothes. He also had the Tan family find a female doctor who knew medicine into the palace. He also found a servant girl who knew martial arts. The female doctor and the servant girl who knew martial arts were all there to protect concubine Xian. With Ning Shu, there was a high chance that they could protect the child in concubine Xian's belly. Concubine Xian stared dumbfoundedly at the swift and decisive Ning Shu. In a short period of time, her palace had changed its appearance. Ning Shu tilted his head and followed concubine Xian's instructions. Concubine Xian, don't wear too much makeup when you're pregnant. It's not good for the child and it's easy to fall into a trap. This concubine will listen to the empress. Concubine Xian could only say helplessly. But looking at the empress, it didn't seem like she wanted to harm the child in her belly. The feeling of sharing a bed with the empress at night was wonderful. The empress's hand was placed on her belly and gently stroked it. It really made one's hair stand on end. But every time before eating, a female doctor would first check all the dishes, including the bowls and chopsticks. After checking, the empress would eat first and then let her eat. Concubine Xian's current goal was to give birth to the child first. No matter if it was a boy or a girl, it would be the emperor's first child. The emperor would definitely have special feelings for it. When Ao Tianzi heard that a concubine in the harem was pregnant, anger immediately appeared between his brows. Although he had someone serve the empress in his place, she was pregnant now and these concubines still looked happy. Ao Tianzi wanted to chop the pregnant concubine. You know what to do, right? Ao Tianzi looked at the secret guard kneeling in front of him. The secret guard said yes and then said hesitantly, the empress will eat and live with concubine Xian. So what if the empress is pregnant? Let her do it. Ao Tianzi said. It was a good time to do it. The empress brought a female doctor from the Tan family and a servant girl who knows a little martial arts. It's not easy to do it. The secret guard said, every meal will be checked. This empress is really responsible. Ao Tianzi rubbed his brows and stood up. He was going to Weiyang Palace. Since she was pregnant, he should reward her with something. When Ao Tianzi arrived at Weiyang Palace, he was greeted by two women. Ning Shu smiled and said to Ao Tianzi, Emperor, concubine Xian is pregnant. After 10 months, she will give birth to a prince. This concubine congratulates the emperor. Ning Shu clearly saw Ao Tianzi's eyebrows tremble. Concubine Xian seemed to be in high spirits. She placed her hand on her waist and acted like a pregnant woman. She slightly stuck out her belly and shouted to Ao Tianzi, Emperor. Ao Tianzi glanced at concubine Xian's belly. My beloved concubine, you have suffered. These things are bestowed to you by me. Use them well. I hope that my beloved concubine will still be beautiful when you are pregnant. Thank you, Emperor. Concubine Xian smiled as she looked at the things that the palace servants were holding. There were rouge, face powder, luxurious jewelry, and some strange and interesting things. Ning Shu narrowed her eyes slightly and said with a smile, "Rest assured, Emperor. This concubine will definitely protect the dragon fetus and let concubine Xian give birth to a healthy dragon heir. This concubine will definitely give sister concubine Xian a happy pregnancy and give birth to a smart child," Ning Shu said without generosity. She even had a joyful expression on her face, as if she was pregnant herself. "Thank you, Empress. The Empress has her own pepper palace and doesn't need to live in Weiyang Palace," Ao Tianzi said. "This concubine doesn't suffer, not at all. As long as sister concubine Xian can give birth to a dragon heir, this concubine will be satisfied. Rest assured, Emperor. This concubine will definitely take good care of sister concubine Xian and not let anything happen to her." Ning Shu looked like a patriotic and generous mother of the nation. Ao Tianzi clenched his hand under his long robe and said with relief, "You are really my good Empress." Ning Shu smiled. "This concubine is duty-bound. Congratulations, Emperor, you are going to be a father." BSP. Chapter 2889. Gui Lai gritted her teeth. Easy Living and her brother were really troublemakers. She regretted letting this guy join the God team. It was just like what Easy Living said. It was a joke to have such a person in the team, but it also added some popularity to her live broadcast. Most of her emojis were screenshots from the live broadcast by some busybodies. She acquiesced to this action. Tao Jing was already in such a sorry state. If Yan Xingzhou still chose her, Gui Lai felt that her rebirth was meaningless. Even if she was her goddess, the strongest goddess in the game, why was Yan Xingzhou still indifferent to her? At a game party in her previous life, she saw Yan Xingzhou peeling prawns for Tao Jing and watching her eat with a smile. Why was he so cold to her? Gui Lai didn't dare to be distracted. Although these were all small monsters, it was live broadcast time. If a distraction caused any impact, it would be a blow to her reputation. It was directly related to money. The worst thing about holographic games was that once the live broadcast started, it couldn't be turned off within the set time. Gui Lai really wanted to turn off the live broadcast. It wasn't that no one did live broadcast, but the live broadcast was terrible. Gui Lai's live broadcast was the most perfect. Her teammates were awesome, her skills were awesome, and her equipment was gorgeous. It was simply enjoyable. Now only Gui Lai's live broadcast was outstanding. The income was amazing. "Damn fatty, I've been tricked by you." Third brother's life was hanging by a thread as he shouted to Ning Shu. When the last drop of blood was gone, he was forced to quit the game. When the character died, they would quit the game. And using the game helmet was very tiring. They couldn't play for too long, so they would be forced to quit the game after 3 hours. To avoid the situation of being unconscious, Ning Shu took out his handkerchief and waved at his brother. Goodbye, my brother." Third brother. "Damn you, who did he die for?" The team that third brother brought over was killed. The rest was the God team. Yan Xingzhou was wearing dazzling equipment and his reaction was very agile. Holographic games were operated by consciousness. To be able to become a god, it meant that he was a very smart person in real life. It seemed that Yan Xingzhou and a group of bad friends were all winners in life. Ning Shu leisurely watched everyone kill monsters. The others were busy to death. The players who were watching the live stream were speechless. The fat chick was even more ridiculous now. In the past, she would at least help. Although she was a little clumsy, she was equipped with a lot of equipment. It would be difficult for her to die in a short period of time. Furthermore, he had a team of gods protecting him, so he definitely wouldn't die. Now, he was actually watching from the side, therefore all kinds of bullet screen comments were enough to blacken Ning Shu. Why would the male gods and goddesses find such a person to team up with? It was simply dragging down the quality and fighting strength of the entire team. They requested to join the team, saying that no matter what, the fatty had more combat power. Fatty didn't even have the slightest spirit of unity and friendship. He just watched everyone fight. Therefore, when someone wants to slander you, no matter what you do, you will be slandered. In the past, when she was asked to help kill enemies, she would be criticized on a technical level, saying that her reaction was slow, her posture was ugly, and she was fat. Now that she wasn't moving, they were saying that she didn't have the spirit of unity and love. Ning Shu didn't care what others said. Just this mountain of small monsters was enough for these people to fight for a while. Wanting to clear this dungeon in a short period of time was impossible. To clear a dungeon, not only did they have to clear the monsters, they also had to race against time to break the record. Using the shortest amount of time to beautifully clear the dungeon was something that every team had to do. Moreover, the shorter the time, the more abundant the equipment that would drop. Ning Shu looked at the time. There was already quite a bit of time, but the last wave of small monsters still hadn't been cleared. The big monsters still hadn't appeared. Moreover, the big monsters this time were definitely strong, because the dungeon counted 2 teams of people. Ning Shu stretched his arms, gathering enough energy to fight BSS. This time, no matter what, he had to get some equipment. If he fought BSS for the last time, then he would definitely have a share of the equipment that would drop. He definitely had to snatch the best equipment that would drop. Ning Shu flipped through all kinds of game guides, familiarizing himself with the game. Many of the game guides on the forums were written by Return Home. Ning Shu looked for a while, and felt that it was better to walk through the game from the beginner's village than to look at these guides. The client's mind wasn't in the game at all. She wasn't here to play the game. She was completely attracted by the realistic graphics. In addition, she met Yan Xingzhou, so there was one more reason to play the game. However, there weren't many people like the client who played the game without any desires. Everyone was fighting for rankings and killing all kinds of monsters. Those who were weak would only be laughed at. Roar, roar, roar. The earth shook violently, and a large mountain cracked open. A huge BSS drilled out of it. It was the enlarged version of a pangolin. Its entire body was pitch black and terrifying. The players were like ants in front of the pangolin. Looking up at the pangolin, it was like looking at a building. Fuck, so big. This must be a top-tier BS. How do we fight this? Looks like Team Great God won't be able to clear the dungeon in the shortest time. I'm so worried about Goddess Return. All kinds of messages flooded the livestream. This dungeon had been cleared before, but the big BSS pangolin wasn't this big. The dungeon would be matched according to the team's strength. The stronger the team, the stronger the team. Originally, Team Great God's strength was awesome, and they even had Brother San's team. Therefore, the game system matched such a huge monster. It was like a big monster in a sci-fi movie. It was unreal. Seeing the big BSS, Return's face turned green. It was so big. It would take too long to kill this monster. Looking at the health bar, it made people feel even more hopeless. She did a live stream to let people see a perfect kill. It was easy. If she was like a normal player, who would watch the live stream? Everyone in the team communicated with their eyes. Finally, Yan Xingzhou said, "Kill it. Although it will take a long time, the reward may be 3 times. The harder it was, the better the reward." Return really wanted to turn around and leave, but they were doing a live stream now. If they left, it would be very bad. It was better to kill the monster than to give up. The few of them besieged the giant pangolin. Dazzling moves were made, and the few great gods took out their rare trump card divine weapons. It made the people watching the livestream scream. Some artifacts couldn't be bought with money. They could only be refined by fighting step by step to gather enough materials. Such an artifact would cost at least $10,000. These rich great gods. Ning Shu looked at these dazzling artifacts. Anyway, the artifacts in the game were all very flashy. How could they be so dazzling and eye-catching? Especially when he unleashed his moves, he could blind people's eyes. Inexplicably, he felt like he was fucking awesome. Chapter 2890. But this boss's strength was beyond everyone's expectations. It was so strong. All kinds of artifacts and spells did little damage to the pangolin, and its HP decreased very slowly. It's simply 6666. The great god is different. The monsters are all so strong. I don't think we can win. This monster's skin is so thick. It feels like it's a lot stronger in all aspects. Its strength, defense, and attack were more than twice as strong as normal monsters. Therefore, the Great God team really had a hard time. The pangolin's claws and teeth were very sharp. The light from its attack could penetrate a person's body. This battle was very difficult. Even the Great God's HP bar was almost empty. Some took out blood tonics and drank them to stay alive. Ning Shu rummaged through her backpack and fully armed herself. She held a very expensive sword in her hand. It was said that it was an artifact that could split into dozens of swords at the same time. At first, the seller was attracted by the bright gem of the sword. She bought it without thinking and planned to give it to Yan Xingzhou. But Yan Xingzhou didn't accept it and returned it to her almost without thinking. Ning Shu wore a flashy armor and ran over with a gorgeous sword in her hand. She asked, "Do you need my help?" But everyone was busy fighting monsters and didn't pay attention to Ning Shu. "Do you need my help?" "You have to tell me," Ning Shu said again. Everyone. They had never seen such a shameless person. How could she be so shameless? The Great God was busy fighting monsters. Who would want to talk to her? And with such a big monster, she would be courting death if she ran over. Was the chubby girl going to contribute an emoji again? Everyone was itching to take a screenshot of Ning Shu's expression at any time and place. To be honest, without the chubby girl dragging them down, it was boring to watch the Great God fight monsters. These people could even make jokes about people. If others were calculative, they would say unhappily that it was just a joke. You can't even make a joke. It's boring. Just a few jokes. Am I close to you? Ning Shu saw that no one was paying attention to her. It seemed that they didn't need her help. She could help with the last hit. Ong ong ong. The big monster was hurt by Yan Xingzhou's attack. It began to go berserk, and the scales on its body shot out like knives. Ning Shu hurriedly moved further away and played with the blood tonic in his hand. After a tough battle, the pangolin only had a little bit of health left. Ning Shu didn't hesitate and took out his sword. The sword split into dozens of swords and stabbed into the pangolin's body, turning it into a porcupine. Boom! The pangolin fell to the ground, raising a thick cloud of dust. Then, a dazzling array of equipment appeared. There were divine artifacts, ores, and pet eggs. Ning Shu was the first to snatch the pet eggs. He also took 2 glowing stones. Everyone was speechless. Ning Shu tucked the egg under his armpit and said to the stun gods, "Hurry up and pick it up. What are you waiting for? Don't be shy." The gods almost laughed. "Don't be shy? You're the one who's being rude." Return was speechless. The new 5-colored stone and pet eggs that she wanted had been snatched away. She had discussed with everyone that the 5-colored stone and pet eggs would belong to her. But now they had been snatched away. This made Return very unhappy. Today's live broadcast didn't go very well. Now, the equipment that dropped had been snatched away. Return took a deep breath. Ning Shu said, "Well, I want the pet eggs and 5-colored stone." "Oh, then why don't you take them? I think the stones are pretty. Pet eggs? I want to hatch a pet egg. You know that I'm weak. It'd be good if there was a pet that could protect me," Ning Shu said directly. In the past, the client would never want these equipment. They treated money like dirt. Ning Shu didn't care about these things, but it was good to make people uncomfortable. If she didn't want the 5-colored stone, she could give it to Sangu. It was probably some kind of forging material. Return was speechless. It was rare to see someone so thick-skinned. Others fought hard to kill the monster, but you dealt the final blow and wanted to share the good stuff. Today's failure made Return unable to control herself. If she hadn't reminded herself that she was live broadcasting, she would have exploded. The others also got what they wanted. Yan Xingzhou generously took out his own things and gave them to Return. "Take it. This arm of God is what you always wanted." "I don't want it." Return didn't want Yan Xingzhou's things. Why should Tao Jing have the right to take it? But Return still accepted it. Didn't Tao Jing like Yan Xingzhou? Seeing Yan Xingzhou give her things, she probably felt bad. "Thank you." Return accepted the hand of God. It was a piece of equipment. When worn on the arm, the combat power doubled. Ning Shu didn't care about what would happen between the two of them. Perhaps the client felt that this little brother was good-looking and was interested. It wasn't to the extent that she loved him to death. The feelings in the plot came step by step. There was no need to have anyone in the beginning. And Yen Xingzhou didn't like her in the beginning. After all, the client's appearance wasn't enough to make people fall in love at first sight. Ning Shu touched the pet egg that was as big as a wash basin. It felt very real. Yen Xingzhou looked at Ning Shu touching the egg and said, "Do you want to sell this egg? I'll buy it." Ning Shu chuckled, revealing 2 small canine teeth. "How much are you willing to pay?" "Name a price," Yen Xingzhou said directly. It seemed like he didn't care much about money. Ning Shu said directly, "If you're buying it for return, then I won't sell it. If you want it, then I'll sell it. You know how badly I've been defamed. I don't want to sell it to her." "Yen Xingzhou, is it good for you to be so honest?" Return was furious. "You were the one who stole the item. How could you be so shameless? Are you being defamed because you're stupid? Are you blaming others for your stupidity?" She couldn't wait to quit the game and vent. Only then could she relieve her anger. Since her rebirth, Return felt that her temperament had improved a lot. But she was still pissed off by this damn fatty. Ning Shu saw Return's face turn black. If it wasn't for the live broadcast, he probably would have exploded. She really couldn't. Her temperament wasn't good. She couldn't take it anymore. The client was defamed every day. Return's journey since her rebirth had been smooth sailing. She suddenly suffered a setback. She was definitely angry. There was no room for failure. It had to be perfect. It seemed like she had OCD. In fact, she wasn't confident in her heart. Chapter 2891. He was afraid that if he made a mistake, he would go back to being a nobody. Yen Xingzhou said, "I'll use it myself." Ning Shu generously gave the egg to him. "Sure, give me whatever you want. I don't lack money." Yen Xingzhou took the pet egg and said, 5,000. A pet egg for 5,000? It must be something good. Ning Shu snatched the egg back. "I'm not selling it." Yen Xingzhou, was it really okay to go back on your word? Ning Shu touched the egg and felt that there was a life inside. It was banging against the shell, trying to jump out. Then a fluffy little yellow chick jumped out. Ning Shu looked at the chick and stuffed it into Yen Xingzhou's arms. "Here, remember to give me 5,000. 5,000 could eat a lot of snacks." No, she was on a diet and didn't eat snacks. 5,000 could be a weight loss class. Yen Xingzhou held the little yellow chick and was a bit speechless. He heard that there was a mythical beast in the egg, but why was it a chicken? She saw that it was a chicken and decided to sell it to him. This girl was really, okay, 5,000. Yen Xingzhou was easy to talk to. Ning Shu felt that the client had good taste. At least she had a happy life after marrying Yen Xingzhou in her previous life. Ning Shu felt that the client was a naive and sweet person. She was the kind of person who had good karma, so her life was peaceful and happy. Her family loved her and she ate well. Her husband loved her dearly. Although Yen Xingzhou was snatched away in the end, the client didn't hate him. Ning Shu's feelings towards him were also ordinary. He didn't like or hate him. It could only be said that he and the client were fated to be together for a lifetime. After another lifetime, their fate would be over. Returning felt that this Tao Jing was more than just annoying. She gave Yen Xingzhou the item when she saw that it wasn't a mythical beast. Yen Xingzhou actually agreed to give him 5,000. Returning's heart was in pain. Could it be that even after being reborn, this situation still couldn't be changed? What did this Tao Jing have? What did she have? She didn't have to do anything and didn't work hard at all. She just enjoyed it for free. She practiced yoga, lost weight, bought all kinds of skincare products. She couldn't beat a damn fatty? Why was the heavens so unfair, especially unfair? Ning Shu could feel the gaze that was staring at her like an awl. She felt speechless. Staring at what she didn't have and seeing what others had. What was the point of snatching a man when she had the chance to be reborn? They had already turned the situation around. What else did they want? Yen Xingzhou was probably her obsession. Life's not perfect without it. Ning Shu Yen Xingzhou said, "Remember to transfer me the money." Then he gave the 5-colored stone to third brother and logged out of the game. As soon as he exited the game, Ning Shu suddenly felt very uncomfortable in his head. He opened the door to cut some fruits. Brother San stared at Ning Shu. Ning Shu said, "Don't be angry. I gave you the multicolored stone. Remember to accept it." Forging divine stone, multicolored stone, where did you get it from? Did you use money again? No, this kind of thing can't be bought with money. Of course I got it from killing monsters. When I saw the 5-colored stone, I knew it was third brother who wanted it. Third brother was speechless. Alright, I'm not angry at all. But after logging out of the game, he could only log back in 3 hours later. You embarrassed yourself again, didn't you? Brother San couldn't wait to enter the game and see how his sister embarrassed herself. No, your sister killed the monsters very bravely. Ning Shu ate some fruits and went downstairs for a run. Dong dong dong, Brother San felt like the roof was going to collapse. Ning Shu hadn't played games for a few days. Maybe it was because he looked at himself and had a filter. Ning Shu felt like he had lost weight. He asked his parents and they all said he had lost weight. His 3 brothers' expressions were indescribable. Their parents could go against their conscience, but they would be scolded if they said anything, so they just kept quiet. Moreover, young people all lived on the internet. Every time they saw other people posting emojis of their sister, they would be angry, and heartbroken. They didn't dare to tell their parents what kind of existence their sister was on the internet. There were all kinds of pranks. It was unbearable to look at. Ning Shu felt like he still had to find a professional. He went to the gym to find a professional coach to lose weight. Ning Shu felt that life was really hard when he ate grass every day and exercised. Losing weight went against his instincts. Storing fat was his body's instinct. Damn fatty, do you think you haven't been slandered enough? Is that why you? Brother San saw the live stream and wanted to die. He was so angry that he wanted to laugh. That last stab was really shameless. Brother San had seen all kinds of shameless players, but he didn't expect his sister to be so shameless. Ning Shu, it doesn't matter. When your sister succeeds in losing weight, all the dark history won't be dark history. It's just that losing weight will be difficult. I really want to eat shredded beef. I really want to eat braised pork shoulder. I'm so desperate. Brother San was also a little hungry after hearing Ning Shu's words. He took out some snacks from the fridge and ate in front of Ning Shu, licking his fingers. Ning Shu swallowed his saliva. Was he really her brother? Other people's brothers were all siscons, but her brothers were really speechless. Right? There's a gaming party. Do you want to go? Brother San asked. There's also a high-end gaming party. Forget it, you shouldn't go. You'll embarrass yourself if you go. When is it? Maybe a month later. Don't go. In the game, you're nothing compared to Return. If you stand together in real life, it'll be an epic disaster movie. Third brother had good intentions, but the words that came out of his mouth made people want to slap him. Ning Shu, of course I'm going. Why not? Recently, Ning Shu had increased his training. He was so tired that he fell asleep the moment his head hit the pillow. He didn't have time to play games. He would occasionally hear Brother Sen talk about games. Right? Yan Xingzhou asked you. He said he sent you $5,000 and asked you to check it. Why did he give you $5,000? Ning Shu said directly, because I sold him a pet egg. Brother San, fuck, what pet egg was $5,000? He worked so hard every day and couldn't even get $5,000. Ning Shu was in the game. When he heard the notification that there was money in his account, he immediately withdrew the money and transferred it to his bank card. Ning Shu also watched Return's livestream. She was very popular. She could earn tens of thousands of yuan doing a livestream. Doing a livestream once a month was enough to eat. In the end, she added a stab and the screen was flooded with comments. Everyone didn't know how to express their complicated feelings. She was really shameless. The chubby girl was shameless before. She didn't know her place when she kept pestering her idol. Now, she was stealing his kills. It was also because the Great God team had good self-restraint that they could tolerate her. Our pitiful goddess returnee was dragged to her death by this kind of person. Chapter 2892. Ning Shu and a group of people waited for the monster to appear. But 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, Ning Shu couldn't help but ask, "When will it come?" The family head said, "We don't know. We are not sure every time it comes." Ning Shu crossed her legs and held the black bone umbrella in the room. Holding an umbrella at home was indeed because the yin qi in this house was heavy and there were many impurities. The heart asked curiously, "Why are you holding this umbrella?" Ning Shu said, "Because I like it. I am a beautiful fairy." A beautiful fairy is something that no one else uses. Only you use it. Is this a beautiful fairy? The heart couldn't stand the hypocrisy between people, so it said whatever it wanted to say. Ning Shu smiled, "Then I will give you one." "But you want me to be a beautiful fairy? I am a man." The heart asked, puzzled. Ning Shu said, "I will give you an umbrella. You are weak and can't lift it." The family heads, "Please don't say such vulgar words in public." The heart still wanted to say something, but Ning Shu felt an inexplicable thing was approaching, making her uncomfortable. Ning Shu's expression was not very obvious. The family heads hugged each other and shivered. It appeared. It came. The world of samsara was dark, but when the monster appeared, the whole house became darker. A cloud of black smoke floated in the open space of the yard. Its voice had the feeling of a teenager and a child. It sounded a little childish and hoarse. "Have you prepared the souls I want?" Ning Shu relaxed her brows. When she heard that it ate souls, she thought that Jing Qing was hiding here. But senior uncle had already searched here, so the chance of him being here was very small. Therefore, an unknown creature appeared in her world of samsara, and it was a soul that ate souls. It sounded young. It was just a cloud of black smoke without a physical body. Before Ning Shu said anything, the heart beside her acted up. It directly rushed toward the black smoke, releasing a terrifying spiritual power that crushed the surrounding buildings. However, this mental power had no effect on the black fog. His mental power penetrated the black fog, and the black fog condensed again. In other words, the heart couldn't do anything to the black mist. This was clearly the first time the heart had encountered something like this. It was the first time his spiritual weapon had failed, and it did not even cause any damage to the opponent. Ning Shu wanted to laugh. Finally, there was an existence that could defeat the heart. However, if the heart could not defeat an existence, then there was nothing she could do. "You're not a soul. I won't eat you." The black fog did not seem to understand that the heart was attacking it. Seeing that the heart was not a soul body, it walked around it. When the black fog said that it wanted to eat souls, its tone was as confident as a human saying that it wanted to eat. "That's it. It's a monster. We're collecting souls for it. We're innocent. You have to protect us." The 6 family heads had no other choice. They could only rely on Ning Shu's protection, especially since this woman had slashed at them repeatedly. Ning Shu said to the puppet sword monarch, "Go and see if you can hurt it." The puppet sword monarch cupped his hands, pulled out his sword, and slashed at the black fog. The black fog was cut in half, but it slowly condensed again. So it was still useless. "Why isn't it a soul? I want to eat souls. It's souls. Huang Li, you said you would prepare souls for me." The black fog was like a child that was hungry, crying for food. Family head Huang, who was called, trembled. He did not dare to respond, or he might be eaten. "You are a soul. Is this the soul prepared this time?" When the black fog saw Ning Shu, it immediately floated in front of her and opened its mouth, intending to swallow her. Ning Shu took 2 steps back and looked at the black fog. "I'm not a soul prepared for you, so you can't eat me." "Not for me to eat." The black fog was shocked. "Then what do you mean? Are you going to let me eat or not?" It was probably the first time the heart had encountered such a thing. The black fog could not do anything about it. It had always been successful, but one day, it suddenly stopped working. The heart was at a loss. Facing the black fog, its colorful eyes were filled with unspeakable fear and suspicion. It was obviously doubting its own ability. Ning Shu did not care if the heart of the heart was broken. He asked the black fog, "Where did you come from?" The black fog did not look like an calamity beast. Calamity beasts did not have intelligence, and they were especially smelly. This black fog was like a dark cloud, but it did not have any stench. It also had intelligence and looked to be about 11 or 12 years old. The black fog asked, "If I answer you, will you let me eat you?" Ning Shu shook his head. "You are in my territory. The souls here are under my control. You can't eat the souls here without your permission." The black fog rolled, and it was obviously a little impatient. "I am hungry. I will eat if I want to. Let me ask you, where did you come from?" It was the world of samsara. Was it a good thing or a bad thing to have such an existence? The black fog said impatiently, "I don't know. I want to eat you." Ning Shu stopped it. "Wait a minute. What now?" The black fog roared. "I don't like talkative souls. They make me lose my appetite." Ning Shu, is the poop you poop in human form? The black fog? Ning Shu, do you only eat and not poop? The black fog? Everyone, why did they have to talk about this? Who cares about poop? Now they were all going to be eaten. Ning Shu chatted with the black fog while contacting His Excellency. It was definitely the right thing to ask him about the world of samsara. He did not know how to deal with the black fog. What if destroying it was not good for the world of samsara? So he asked for His Excellency's opinion. His Excellency was doing something and had not replied until now. Damn it, she had to talk nonsense with this black cloud, especially this black cloud that was extremely hungry. It was going to swallow her at any time. The black fog was obviously impatient. "What do you want to say?" Ning Shu asked, "What is your name?" The black fog opened its mouth and drooled at Ning Shu. Ning Shu was very surprised and said in shock, "You don't have a name, no name." The heart said faintly, "What's so surprising about that? I don't have a name either." "Ning Shu, what are you doing?" The heart asked the black fog, "What are you? Why is my power useless to you?" This was what the heart cared about the most. Its attack was always successful. Why couldn't it do anything to the black fog? Was it because it had no body? Chapter 2893. Ning Shu asked mischievously, "Then can you predict what I'm going to do next?" Xing glanced at Ning Shu and said, "Go to the toilet." Ning Shu was speechless. "Then I'll hold it in. You drank so much water just now. It's inevitable that you'll go to the toilet, or it'll be later," Xing said. Ning Shu felt that this was pretty awesome. Although it was just a curse and not the real law of time, it was still pretty awesome. Ning Shu once again had the idea of learning incantations. Although curses were not the real law of time, it was still a method. There was no difference in power. As long as it was useful, it was a good power. Speaking of being a country bumpkin, her ultimate martial arts were even more country bumpkin. But now, her ultimate martial arts had become the medium for her to build her world. What could people say about this? Ning Shu was deep in thought. Then she felt the urge to pee and wanted to go to the toilet. Ning Shu rolled her eyes and went to the toilet with her gun. Predicting that she was going to pee was also drunk. Ning Shu squatted in a secluded place to pee. She saw an alien the size of a man's fist swimming in front of her. It jumped at her excitedly. Ning Shu didn't even pull up her pants. She fired a shot and the alien was annihilated. Nothing was left. After dealing with the alien, Ning Shu pulled up her pants. Her expression didn't change at all. 2333 suddenly said, "Ning Shu, you've changed." Ning Shu squinted. "How have I changed? Have I become prettier? Tell me honestly, can you see when I go to the toilet?" 2333. "I'm saying that you're starting to develop into a qualified mission enforcer. You can face all kinds of situations calmly," 2333 said. She could drink coffee in a cafe, eat steak elegantly in a high-class restaurant, and pick up garbage to eat when her life was threatened. It was the first time Ning Shu heard 2333 praise her. Ning Shu flipped her hair and said proudly, "I've always been so outstanding. Don't admire me. But in my heart, you've always been a naughty retard. That has never changed." 2333. "You're the retard. You're the most retarded." Ning Shu returned to Xing's side. Xing was fiddling with his hands. Ning Shu glanced over and saw that Xing was watching the news. What news? Ning Shu asked. The city is on lockdown. The highway that leads here has been blocked. Xing put away his phone and leaned against the wall. Ning Shu rubbed his calf. It looks like the economy of this place is going to decline. I have to find a new city and work hard to buy a house. Xing? Shouldn't they be discussing how to deal with the xenomorph first? All they talk about is buying houses, buying houses, buying houses. I don't think it's possible for the economy to regress. After the disaster, there will definitely be a lot of construction, Xing said. Does that mean I can buy a house here? Ning Shu thought for a while. He would wait until the matter was settled and see if he could buy a house here. Xing, that after the conversation ended, the two of them closed their eyes and rested. When they had rested enough, the two of them began to search for aliens again. They could only walk and did not drive. Also, they had to crawl through the sewers. It was really miserable. Xing helped Ning Shu carry the first aid kit. The two of them took turns. Also, Ning Shu had used up some of the medicine in the first aid kit. Some pharmacies were closed. Ning Shu could only go to the hospital to look for more. Now, every hospital was in a state of full capacity, and some medical staff were injured. Ning Shu wanted anti-inflammatory drugs and anesthetics but was told that the hospital was out of stock. Ning Shu. I can exchange for some. Anyway, I have the right to extend the limit this time. Xing said. A box of medicine appeared in front of him. There were anti-inflammatory drugs and anesthetics. As time passed, this batch of xenomorphs started to grow. Some of them had already grown to the size of a basin. If they killed the xenomorph in a normal way, there would already be small xenomorph the size of a child's finger in their body. It was simply endless. Ning Shu killed a xenomorph the size of a basin. He said to Xing, I don't know what weapons the armed forces are using. It's useless to just kill the xenomorph. Instead, there will be more and more of them. Xing didn't know what to say. Ning Shu even suspected that they were going to stay in this plane forever to kill these things. Ning Shu suspected that these things had already spread out. After all, they were active in the sewers. Perhaps they would flow into the sea and drift to various places. Ning Shu wiped his face. He didn't dare to think about it. Xing's expression didn't look too good either. If this mission failed, it would use up one authority and the power of faith. It was not worth it to fail. If they bombarded it, it would be like using a cannon to kill a mosquito. They could only rely on manpower to destroy it. It was quite a despairing thing. Come, let's hug each other and continue fighting the xenomorph, Xing said helplessly. Ning Shu. I think that they should send someone. The two of us can't handle it, Ning Shu said. My system has already reported the situation here. Let's wait. Xing wiped the sweat off his forehead. When Ning Shu heard Xing's words, he felt that the system Xing mentioned was so soft and cute. Thinking of his own system, he was half dead. When something happened, it shrank back. I also reported it but I feel guilty, 2333 said. Ning Shu. What are you guilty of? Ning Shu, I once helped you exchange for the death-like pill, helped you reach the Sea of Law, and even helped you pass the Soul Pearl once. 2333 was very familiar with it. I don't remember at all. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. You brought me to the Sea of Law because you coveted the Chaos Stone in my hands. 2333. That this guy holds grudges. You don't dare to show your existence because you are afraid of being punished? Ning Shu, that these things were all on her head. Ning Shu's intuition told him that 2333 was hiding something from her. I advise you not to do anything out of line behind my back. Ning Shu said seriously, I haven't constructed a world yet. It is very likely that I will be obliterated, completely obliterated. I didn't. What can I do out of line? Even if I did, it would be to serve you. 2333 said. Ning Shu looked indifferent. You are using me as an excuse again. I feel that you are trying to push the blame to me. He was determined not to be the scapegoat. You are too sensitive. We are one. Betraying you is betraying myself. I will not do things that harm others without benefiting myself. Ning Shu shook his head. No, you might do things that harm others for your own benefit. 2333 was silent for a moment and said, it is still the same sentence. We are one. Ning Shu walked with a solemn expression. Xing stopped and saw that Ning Shu's expression was not good. He said, let me help you carry it for a while. Ning Shu's shoulder was in pain. His clothes were stuck to the wound. It was painful when he pulled it, so he used the medical kit. What happened to you? Xing could not help but ask. The atmosphere was very low. He had never seen this mission enforcer like this. Ning Shu looked at Xing and thought for a moment before asking, do you think the system will betray the mission enforcer? Originally, it was his own. Chapter 2894. Usually, Ning Shu was very low-key in the residence. He would do everything secretly at night. Please search for the most complete information. Ning Shu sent the little beggar to give him some food and asked him to help keep an eye on the Yin family. The last time I Ching came to visit, Ning Shu felt that I Ching had something to tell him. She probably had some concerns. Speaking of which, she and I Ching were on opposite sides. Zhuoche was a member of the imperial family. If he wanted to treat a woman well, no woman in the world could oppose him. Gu Fanlu was sick. When he got a little better, Ning Shu went to his room and took a stroll. The next day, Gu Fanlu fell seriously ill again. Old Madam invited several doctors to take turns to treat Gu Fanlu. She was afraid that her sister's grandson would die in Marquis Xuanping's residence. Even if the sick Gu Fanlu's mind was muddled, he could still guess some things. He was still lying on the bed when he told Old Madam that he wanted to move out. How could Old Madam let Gu Fanlu recuperate alone? She insisted on making Gu Fanlu stay. Gu Fanlu's face was pale. Stay my ass. Gu Fanlu knew that he had been schemed against. This time he was sick. Next time he might die. This matter was most likely done by Marquis Xianping. Gu Fanlu insisted on leaving. He said that he was so seriously ill that it might be an epidemic. It would not be good to spread it to the people in Marquis Xuanping's residence. Old Madam was helpless and could only send a few people to serve Gu Fanlu. Gu Fanlu was carried out of Marquis Xuanping's residence. Ning Shu stood in the pavilion and watched Gu Fanlu leave from afar. Little Qing really went with him. What good luck! Lian Xiao stomped her feet and curled her lips. She went to serve him, not to be his pillow. Why are you so agitated? Ning Shu said lightly. Lian Xiao probably suffered at Little Qing's hands before and took the opportunity to mock and ridicule Little Qing. Ning Shu turned to look for Old Madam. Ning Shu bowed. Granddaughter greets grandmother. Zhuru, come to grandmother. Dowager Duchess Ning Shu beckoned. Ning Shu walked over and asked Old Madam with a smile, cousin is so sick. How can we send him away? What will Grandaunt think? Cousin, even if you want to leave, you have to wait until you're seriously ill. Ning Shu said as he massaged the Dowager Duchess's shoulders. Being pressed by Ning Shu like this, the old madam felt very comfortable. She squinted her eyes and said, Fan Lu insisted on leaving. She said that she was afraid of passing the disease to us. Ning Shu said softly, cousin doesn't want to implicate us, but we can't think that way. Great aunt must have a grudge against grandmother. Grandmother also doesn't want others to say that our Marquis Xianping's residence is harsh and merciless, throwing people out when we see them sick. The Dowager Duchess was so comfortable that she was about to fall asleep. When she heard Ning Shu's words, she said, it's indeed not very appropriate. Cousin said that he was afraid of passing the disease, but the people who serve him are not sick. This means that cousin doesn't have a disease. Grandmother, is it comfortable? It's really what granddaughter learned from medicine. It can promote blood circulation, remove blood stasis, and relieve fatigue. Ning Shu changed the topic. It's very comfortable. Zhuru is still filial. In the future, when you have nothing to do, come and give grandmother a massage. Ning Shu's voice was light as he agreed. The Dowager Duchess was old and went to take an afternoon nap. After that, the sick Gu Fanlu was carried back to Marquis Xianping's residence. No matter how much Gu Fanlu didn't want to come back, her delicate body was weak and she was carried back to Marquis Xianping's residence. Ning Shu stood in the pavilion and looked at the weak Gu Fanlu. Ning Shu didn't go near Gu Fanlu. There was no need to flaunt his prowess and make Gu Fanlu suspicious. If Gu Fanlu was suspicious, it would arouse Zhuo Qiren's suspicion. She was just an ordinary girl in the inner courtyard. She didn't step out of the house and embroidered. Miss, young master doesn't find it troublesome to go back and forth like this. When will the illness be cured? Lian Xiao was a straightforward girl. She asked whatever was on her mind. Ning Shu said, just walk around like this and breathe in the fresh air. After that, the illness will be cured. Lian Xiao's face was full of question marks. Ning Shu returned to his courtyard and picked up the embroidery to embroider the word longevity. After a while, it would be the Dowager Duchess's 60th birthday. Miss, Sister Cui, who serves Madam, came and said that Madam has something to discuss with you. Ning Shu put down the embroidery and moved his neck. He asked, did Cui say anything? The Marquis is also here. Ning Shu tidied up and followed Cui to Madame Rongwa's courtyard. Ning Shu entered the room and felt that the atmosphere was very tense. Marquis Xianping's face was dark as he drank tea. Madame Rongwa looked helpless. Ning Shu bowed. Father, what happened? Madame Rongwa couldn't help but sigh. She looked at Ning Shu with eyes full of love and helplessness. Marquis Xianping placed the teacup on the table and said directly, the marriage between Marquis Xianping and Prince Exin cannot go through. Ning Shu's expression didn't change. Your daughter will listen to father. Marquis Xianping's expression became slightly better. You won't ask me why? No matter what father does, it is for the sake of the Marquis Xianping's residence, Ning Shu said. From today onwards, you will be infected with a serious illness. When the time comes, I will cancel this marriage. Madame Rongwa spoke. Marquis, why must you be infected with a serious illness? This is too unfair to Zhu Ru. Who would dare to marry Zhu Ru in the future? Why don't you find an enlightened monk and say that the two of them are incompatible? Back then, when the 8 characters were matched, it was said to be a heaven-sent match. Now, you say that the 8 characters are incompatible. Do you think others are stupid? How should I explain this to His Majesty? Marquis Xianping's residence had a headache. He really couldn't figure out how he had offended Zhuo Qiren to the point that he wouldn't let him go. It wasn't easy for him to gather 3 million taels and 20,000 dan of grain. In the end, Zhuo Qiren was still not satisfied and told His Majesty that the disaster in Hanyang was too serious and there was already a riot. This bit of money was not enough. Zhuo Qiren had always been liked by His Majesty and he agreed with Zhuo Qiren's words. He also felt that this bit of money was a bit too little. Marquis Xianping really wanted to curse. Marquis Xianping didn't want to marry his daughter over now. Of course, the one who would suffer was still his daughter, regardless of whether she was married or not. Madame Rongwa's heart ached for her daughter. This was the legitimate daughter of Marquis Xianping's residence. She had been raised well. She had poems and songs, rules and etiquette. The daughter that she had painstakingly raised was ruined just like that. Not to mention that this was trampling on Marquis Xianping's residence's face. This was her own daughter. What do you think? Marquis Xianping felt a little guilty when he saw that Ning Shu didn't make a fuss or cry. Ning Shu bowed. Daughter will listen to father. Father doesn't want daughter to marry into Prince Xian's residence because he loves daughter dearly. Daughter understands in her heart. If she were to marry into Marquis Xianping's residence, she would be in a dilemma. Marquis Xianping's residence would be destroyed. Su Zhu would be wandering around in the mountains of romance, singing decadent songs of romance. Her heart was already riddled with holes and incomparably vicissitudes of life. She was originally self-confident. Chapter 2895. Ning Shu's face was filled with joy as he asked Consort Xian, "Have you seen a royal doctor?" Consort Xian's pale face flushed red as she said, "Qinxia hasn't seen a royal doctor. I thought it was because the weather was too hot and my spleen and stomach weren't feeling well. Also, Qinxia's period has always been messy, so I didn't pay much attention. BSP, the weather is so hot. You should find a royal doctor to get some pills to stimulate the appetite and strengthen the spleen," Ning Shu said with a smile. The royal doctor quickly came and took Consort Xian's pulse. Then Ning Shu said, Empress, Consort Xian is already 1 month pregnant. That's great. The emperor finally has a child. Ning Shu smiled and said to Consort Xian, from today onwards, you have to take care of the baby. You can't make any mistakes. The child you give birth to is the emperor's eldest son, so there can't be any mistakes. From today onwards, I will eat, live, and sleep with you until the child is born. The harem needs a child too much. The emperor isn't young anymore, Ning Shu said casually. Consort Xian was dumbfounded. Then she said, Empress, Chen Xie doesn't want to trouble you. Ning Shu waved his hand. From today onwards, the most important matter in the harem is Consort Xian's dragon fetus. Give birth to the dragon fetus at all costs. If anyone's hands stretch too far, I don't mind cutting them off. Ning Shu's sharp gaze flashed across everyone present. The concubines were all frightened by Ning Shu's sharp gaze. They all bowed and said, Chen Xie obeys. You can all leave. Consort Xian, stay. Ning Shu waved his hand. The concubines all left. Consort Xian rubbed her stomach and looked at Ning Shu with a bit of fear. Extinguish all the incense in the room, Ning Shu said to She immediately used water to extinguish the incense in the incense burner and then opened the window. Although I don't know if the incense is harmful, it's better not to light it. In the future, don't light it in your hall, Ning Shu said to Consort Xian. Imperial concubine Xian nodded. Chen Xie will remember. This consort wasn't joking when she said that we would eat and live together. Don't think that I would do anything to you, said Ning Shu. This concubine really doesn't dare to trouble the empress. This concubine is deeply afraid. Concubine Xian's jade nose was dripping with sweat. Don't talk about these useless things. This empress won't do anything to you. On the contrary, this empress wants to protect the child in your belly. Right now, everyone in the court, including the emperor, thinks that this empress is immoral. If you lose your child, do you think this empress will have a good ending? This empress will be frank with you today. You must have this child. Consort Xian bowed. Thank you, concubine, but it's just living and eating together. It's not a big deal. From today onwards, I'll live with you in your palace. Ning Shu said to Shi, just pack some clothes. Nyang. Shi was somewhat disapproving. The empress was living in the concubine's palace. Go. After that, Ning Shu moved to concubine Xian's Weiyang Palace. He had people carefully inspect everything in Weiyang Palace, including some antiques, calligraphy, paintings, jewelry, rouge, and some clothes. He also had the Tan family find a female doctor who knew medicine into the palace. He also found a servant girl who knew martial arts. The female doctor and the servant girl who knew martial arts were all there to protect concubine Xian. With Ning Shu, there was a high chance that they could protect the child in concubine Xian's belly. Concubine Xian stared dumbfoundedly at the swift and decisive Ning Shu. In a short period of time, her palace had changed its appearance. Ning Shu tilted his head and followed concubine Xian's instructions. Concubine Xian, don't wear too much makeup when you're pregnant. It's not good for the child and it's easy to fall into a trap. This concubine will listen to the empress. Concubine Xian could only say helplessly. But looking at the empress, it didn't seem like she wanted to harm the child in her belly. The feeling of sharing a bed with the empress at night was wonderful. The empress's hand was placed on her belly and gently stroked it. It really made one's hair stand on end. But every time before eating, a female doctor would first check all the dishes, including the bowls and chopsticks. After checking, the empress would eat first and then let her eat. Concubine Xian's current goal was to give birth to the child first. No matter if it was a boy or a girl, it would be the emperor's first child. The emperor would definitely have special feelings for it. When Ao Tianzi heard that a concubine in the harem was pregnant, anger immediately appeared between his brows. Although he had someone serve the empress in his place, she was pregnant now and these concubines still looked happy. Ao Tianzi wanted to chop the pregnant concubine. You know what to do, right? Ao Tianzi looked at the secret guard kneeling in front of him. The secret guard said yes and then said hesitantly, The empress will eat and live with concubine Xian. So what if the empress is pregnant? Let her do it. Ao Tianzi said. It was a good time to do it. The empress brought a female doctor from the Tan family and a servant girl who knows a little martial arts. It's not easy to do it. The secret guard said, every meal will be checked. Heh, this empress is really responsible. Ao Tianzi rubbed his brows and stood up. He was going to Weiyang Palace. Since she was pregnant, he should reward her. Ao Tianzi arrived at Weiyang Palace and was welcomed by two women. Ning Shu smiled and said to Ao Tianzi, Your Majesty, concubine Xian is pregnant. After 10 months, she will give birth to a prince. Your Majesty, congratulations. Ning Shu clearly saw Ao Tianzi's eyebrows tremble. Concubine Xian seemed to be in high spirits. She placed her hand on her waist and acted like a pregnant woman. She slightly stuck out her belly and shouted to Ao Tianzi, Your Majesty. Ao Tianzi glanced at concubine Xian's belly. My beloved concubine, you have suffered. These things are bestowed to you by me. Use them well. I hope that my beloved concubine will still be beautiful when you are pregnant. Thank you, Your Majesty. Concubine Xian smiled and looked at the things that the palace servants were holding. There were rouge, face powder, luxurious jewelry, and some strange and interesting things. Ning Shu narrowed her eyes slightly and said with a smile, Your Majesty, don't worry. Your Majesty, I will definitely protect the dragon fetus and let concubine Xian give birth to a healthy dragon heir. Your Majesty will definitely give sister concubine Xian a happy pregnancy and give birth to a smart child, Ning Shu said without generosity. She even had a joyful expression on her face, as if she was pregnant herself. Thank you, Your Majesty. The Empress has her own pepper palace and doesn't need to live in Weiyang Palace, Ao Tianzi said. Your Majesty, it's not hard at all. As long as sister concubine Xian can give birth to a dragon heir, I will be satisfied. Your Majesty, don't worry. Your Majesty, I will definitely take good care of sister concubine Xian and not let anything happen to her. Ning Shu looked like a loyal, patriotic, and magnanimous mother of the nation. Ao Tianzi clenched his hand under his long robe and said with relief, You are really my good empress. Ning Shu smiled. This concubine is duty-bound. Congratulations, Your Majesty, on becoming a father. BSP. Chapter 2896. Xing carried the woman on the ground. She was already dying. Being carried by Xing, her face became even paler. Everyone, please search for the most complete information. Blood. Xing's hands were covered with blood. Ning Shu hailed a taxi by the roadside and pressed the woman's acupuncture points. Ning Shu's place was not easy to find a taxi, but there were some unlicensed ones. Xing put the woman into the car. Ning Shu said, You go to the hospital. I will look for more. Ning Shu asked, If you see a woman who was hurt, what will you do? If I can save her, then I will. If I can't, then forget it. Xing said coldly. Ning Shu nodded and asked the driver to drive faster. When they got close to the hospital, Ning Shu heard the sound of ambulances going in and out. The whole city was filled with the sound of ambulances. Ning Shu carried the woman into the hospital and shouted to the nurse, Someone come quickly and give her a blood transfusion. The nurse saw that Ning Shu was carrying a woman and was so calm. He was not even panting. She was stunned, but she quickly pushed the bed over. Ning Shu put the woman on the bed. The woman grabbed the corner of Ning Shu's clothes tightly. Ning Shu could only push her hand away. One by one, the beds passed by Ning Shu. The woman on the bed was holding her stomach and crying in pain. Her body was covered in blood. It seemed that they were all attacked by the aliens. It was not that the ambulances did not go, but there were not enough ambulances. Ning Shu took the tissue with semen and prepared to test it. He wanted to see what semen was in the alien's body. Ning Shu was actually most afraid of semen. If that was the case, then the reproduction of the aliens was terrifying. Ning Shu went to the laboratory and asked the doctor to test it. Ning Shu waited outside the door. After a while, the laboratory staff said that it was semen. Ning Shu spat and washed his hands. There were small tadpoles in the body of a big tadpole. When the big tadpole grew, the small tadpoles in the body also grew. Every tadpole had small tadpoles. This thing has truly achieved sexless reproduction. Ning Shu took out his mobile phone and called Xing. Xing was silent for a long time before he said, "I really admire Su Hongyuan." No, Ning Shu was the scientist who had taken the drug. It was all because of a man that such a thing happened. Ning Shu hung up the phone. When he passed by a ward, he saw that it was extremely chaotic. Ning Shu pushed the door open and saw a nurse clutching her stomach. Her face was contorted in fear. Blood flowed out from under her. Ning Shu hurriedly said, "Hurry up and take out the xenomorph. Take it out and kill it. Hurry up." The alien had probably been removed from the patient's body and placed on the tray. In the end, it had entered the nurse's body. The nurse was held down. The doctor cut open her stomach and took out the alien that was the size of a golf ball. Ning Shu picked up the scissors on the tray and directly cut off the alien's tail. He covered the alien with something and stepped on it. Ning Shu's foot did not crush the alien. He stepped on it again and still did not crush it. The alien squeaked. It was a little awkward. Ning Shu took the scissors and directly stabbed it into the alien's head. Ning Shu said, "This has to be killed directly. Otherwise, it will attack people everywhere in the hospital. Maybe you don't believe it, but this is a human sperm." The doctors and nurses were speechless. Ning Shu got a set of medical equipment from the hospital. There were all kinds of tools needed for surgery. Ning Shu felt that as long as there were scalpels, sutures, and anesthetics, it would be enough. The small tadpoles were still small and liked to drill into women's bodies. When they grew up, they would not be able to drill into women's bodies. They would bite and swallow people. Carrying the box, Ning Shu walked out of the hospital. He saw another woman being carried out of the ambulance. Ning Shu looked away and slung the box over his body. He called Xing and asked, "Where are you? I'll come and find you." Xing told him a location. Ning Shu hailed a car and went to the address. Ning Shu looked out of the window. The neon lights were flashing and the bustling city that never sleeps was bustling. But the undercurrents were surging. Those aliens hiding in the unknown would attack people. Ning Shu felt that the alien was a despicable thing. If there were two people in front of it, a man and a woman, the alien would attack the woman first. Despicable. Ning Shu arrived at the place Xing said. He got out of the car and saw Xing sitting on the flower bed with 2 shotguns beside him. Ning Shu walked over and gave him a bottle of water. "How is it?" "It's not easy." Xing opened the bottle cap and drank. "There are also many patients in the hospital who have been attacked. The people above should pay attention to it," Ning Shu said. Xing raised his head and drank half a bottle of water. Then he saw Ning Shu's box. "Well, taking the alien out of the woman's body is the best way. Let's go." Xing stood up and handed a shotgun to Ning Shu. Xing took out a copper coin and divined. Then the two of them followed the copper coin. In a bush, they saw something swimming in the grass, making a squeaking sound. Xing looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu raised the shotgun and released his spiritual force. He located the position of the alien and pulled the trigger. There was a pop sound and something exploded. Ning Shu walked over and saw a pool of white sperm splattered on the grass. Ning Shu took out disinfectant from the medical kit and poured it directly on the sperm to dilute and kill them. "Normal sperm can't live for long outside the body," Xing said. "Ning Shu, do you think these sperm are normal?" Ning Shu felt a little desperate. If he killed one, more would come out of the body. "Burn it with fire," Xinjiang suggested. "After all, it's a mutated thing." "Then I'll use concentrated sulfuric acid," Ning Shu said fiercely. He didn't believe that it could survive in concentrated sulfuric acid. Xing looked worried. "What I'm worried about is another problem. That is, will someone use this thing to achieve their own selfish desires?" Ning Shu asked. "Someone will keep this thing in captivity. It can't be, right? This thing will grow bigger and bigger and there will be more aliens in its body." Xing frowned. "Humans are smart, but don't underestimate their desires. They can blind their minds. If we let these things attack the bank, attack the cash truck, There was no lack of opportunistic people in the world. Ning Shu was silent. Even I want to do that. Xing scratched his head. If it spreads, this plane may be finished. You and I will fail the mission. Especially since both of us can't control the situation. Ning Shu, what can I say? I'm also very desperate. Xing said, let's go look for it first. If we find one, we'll have one less. Ning Shu nodded and followed behind Xing with the box. Originally, he was self-satisfied. Chapter 2897. Ning Shu asked mischievously, then can you predict what I'm going to do next? Xing glanced at Ning Shu and said, go to the toilet. Ning Shu was speechless. Then I'll hold it in. You drank so much water just now. It's inevitable that you'll go to the toilet, or it'll be later, Xing said. Ning Shu felt that this was pretty awesome. Although it was just a curse and not the real law of time, it was still pretty awesome. Ning Shu once again had the idea of learning incantations. Although curses were not the real law of time, it was still a method. There was no difference in power. As long as it was useful, it was a good power. Speaking of being a country bumpkin, her ultimate martial arts were even more country bumpkin. But now, her ultimate martial arts had become the medium for her to build her world. What could people say about this? Ning Shu was deep in thought. Then she felt the urge to pee and wanted to go to the toilet. Ning Shu rolled her eyes and went to the toilet with her gun. Predicting that she was going to pee was also drunk. Ning Shu squatted in a secluded place to pee. She saw an alien the size of a man's fist swimming in front of her. It jumped at her excitedly. Ning Shu didn't even pull up her pants. She fired a shot and the alien was annihilated. Nothing was left. After dealing with the alien, Ning Shu pulled up her pants. Her expression didn't change at all. 2333 suddenly said, Ning Shu, you've changed. Ning Shu squinted. How have I changed? Have I become prettier? Tell me honestly, can you see when I go to the toilet? 2333. I'm saying that you're starting to develop into a qualified mission enforcer. You can face all kinds of situations calmly, 2333 said. She could drink coffee in a cafe, eat steak elegantly in a high-class restaurant, and pick up garbage to eat when her life was threatened. It was the first time Ning Shu heard 2333 praise her. Ning Shu flipped her hair and said proudly, I've always been so outstanding. Don't admire me. But in my heart, you've always been a naughty retard. That has never changed. 2333. You're the retard. You're the most retarded. Ning Shu returned to Xing's side. Xing was fiddling with his hands. Ning Shu glanced over and saw that Xing was watching the news. What news? Ning Shu asked. The city is on lockdown. The highway that leads here has been blocked. Xing put away his phone and leaned against the wall. Ning Shu rubbed his calf. It looks like the economy of this place is going to decline. I have to find a new city and work hard to buy a house. Xing? Shouldn't they be discussing how to deal with the xenomorph first? All they talk about is buying houses, buying houses, buying houses. I don't think it's possible for the economy to regress. After the disaster, there will definitely be a lot of construction, Xing said. Does that mean I can buy a house here? Ning Shu thought for a while. He would wait until the matter was settled and see if he could buy a house here. Xing. That after the conversation ended, the two of them closed their eyes and rested. When they had rested enough, the two of them began to search for aliens again. They could only walk and did not drive. Also, they had to crawl through the sewers. It was really miserable. Xing helped Ning Shu carry the first aid kit. The two of them took turns. Also, Ning Shu had used up some of the medicine in the first aid kit. Some pharmacies were closed. Ning Shu could only go to the hospital to look for more. Now, every hospital was in a state of full capacity, and some medical staff were injured. Ning Shu wanted anti-inflammatory drugs and anesthetics, but was told that the hospital was out of stock. Ning Shu. I can exchange for some. Anyway, I have the right to extend the limit this time. Xing said. A box of medicine appeared in front of him. There were anti-inflammatory drugs and anesthetics. As time passed, This batch of xenomorphs started to grow. Some of them had already grown to the size of a basin. If they killed the xenomorph in a normal way, there would already be small xenomorph the size of a child's finger in their body. It was simply endless. Ning Shu killed a xenomorph the size of a basin. He said to Xing, "I don't know what weapons the armed forces are using. It's useless to just kill the xenomorph. Instead, there will be more and more of them." Xing didn't know what to say. Ning Shu suspected that they would continue to stay in this world to kill these things. Ning Shu suspected that these things had already spread out. After all, they were active in the sewers. Perhaps they would flow into the sea and drift to various places. Ning Shu wiped his face. He didn't dare to think about it. Xing's expression didn't look too good either. If this mission failed, it would use up one authority and the power of faith. If it failed, it wouldn't be worth it. If they bombarded it, it would be like using a cannon to kill a mosquito. They could only rely on manpower to destroy it. It was quite a despairing thing. "Come, let's hug each other and continue to fight the xenomorph," Xing said helplessly. "Ning Shu, I think that they should send someone. The two of us can't handle it," Ning Shu said. "My system has already reported the situation here. Just wait." Xing wiped the sweat off his forehead. When Ning Shu heard Xing's words, he felt that the system Xing mentioned was so soft and cute. Thinking of his own system, he was half dead. When something happened, it shrank back. I also reported it, but I feel guilty," 2333 said. "Ning Shu, what are you guilty of?" "Ning Shu, I once helped you exchange for the death-like pill, helped you reach the Sea of Law, and even helped you pass the Soul Pearl once." 2333 was very familiar with it. "I don't remember at all." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "You brought me to the Sea of Law because you coveted the Chaos Stone in my hands." 2333. "That this guy holds grudges. You don't dare to show your existence because you are afraid of being punished?" Ning Shu, "That these things were all on her head." Ning Shu's intuition told him that 2333 still had something that he didn't tell her. "I advise you not to do anything out of line behind my back." Ning Shu said seriously, "I haven't constructed a world yet. It is very likely that I will be obliterated, completely obliterated." "I didn't. What can I do out of line? Even if I do, it is to serve you," 2333 said. Ning Shu's expression was indifferent. "You are using me as an excuse again. I feel that you want to push the blame to me." He was determined not to be the scapegoat. "You are too sensitive. We are one. Betraying you is betraying myself. I will not do things that harm others without benefiting myself." Ning Shu shook his head. "No, you might do things that harm others for your own benefit." 2333 was silent for a moment and said, "It is still the same sentence. We are one." Ning Shu walked with a solemn expression. Xing stopped and saw that Ning Shu's expression was not good. He said, "Let me help you carry it for a while." Ning Shu's shoulder was in pain. His clothes were stuck to the wound. It was painful when he pulled it, so he used the medical kit. "What happened to you?" Xing could not help but ask. The atmosphere was very low. He had never seen this mission enforcer like this. Ning Shu looked at Xing and thought for a moment before asking, "Do you think the system will betray the mission enforcers?" Originally, it was his own. Chapter 2898. Usually, Ning Shu was very low-key in the residence. He would do everything secretly at night. Please search for the most complete information. Ning Shu sent the little beggar to give him some food and asked him to help keep an eye on the Yin family. The last time I Ching came to visit, Ning Shu felt that I Ching had something to tell him. She probably had some concerns. Speaking of which, she and I Ching were on opposite sides now. Shuche was a member of the royal family. If he wanted to treat a woman well, no woman in the world could oppose him. Gu Fanlu was sick. When he got a little better, Ning Shu went to his room and took a stroll. The next day, Gu Fanlu fell seriously ill again. Old Madam invited several doctors to take turns to treat Gu Fanlu. She was afraid that her sister's grandson would die in Marquis Xuanping's residence. Even if the sick Gu Fanlu's mind was muddled, He could still guess some things. He was still lying on the bed when he told old Madam that he wanted to move out. How could old Madam let Gu Fanlu recuperate alone? She insisted on making Gu Fanlu stay. Gu Fanlu's face was pale. Stay my ass. Gu Fanlu knew that he had been schemed against. This time he was sick. Next time he might die. This was most likely done by Marquis Xianping. Gu Fanlu insisted on leaving. He said that he was so seriously ill that it might be an epidemic. It would not be good if he infected the people in Marquis Xianping's residence. Old Madam had no choice but to send a few people to wait on Gu Fanlu. Gu Fanlu was carried out of Marquis Xianping's residence. Ning Shu stood in the pavilion and watched Gu Fanlu leave from afar. Little Qing really went with him. What good luck! Lian Xiao stomped her feet and curled her lips. She went to wait on him, not to be his pillow. Why are you so agitated? Ning Shu said lightly. Lian Xiao probably suffered at Little Qing's hands before and took the opportunity to mock and ridicule Little Qing. Ning Shu turned to look for old Madam. Ning Shu bowed. Granddaughter greets grandmother. Zhuru, come to grandmother. Dowager Duchess Ning Shu beckoned. Ning Shu walked over and asked old Madam with a smile, cousin is so sick. How can we send him away? What will Grandaunt think? Cousin, even if you want to leave, you have to wait until you're seriously ill. Ning Shu said as he massaged the Dowager Duchess's shoulders. Being pressed by Ning Shu, the old madam felt very comfortable. She squinted her eyes slightly and said, Fan Lu insisted on leaving. She said that she was afraid of passing the disease to us. Ning Shu said softly, cousin doesn't want to implicate us, but we can't think that way. Great aunt must have a grudge against grandmother. Grandmother also doesn't want others to say that our Marquis Xianping's residence is harsh and merciless, throwing people out when we see them sick. The Dowager Duchess was so comfortable that she was about to fall asleep. When she heard Ning Shu's words, she said, it's indeed not very appropriate. Cousin said that he was afraid of passing the disease, but the people who serve him are not sick. This means that cousin doesn't have a disease. Grandmother, is it comfortable? It's really what granddaughter learned from medicine. It can promote blood circulation, remove blood stasis, and relieve fatigue. Ning Shu changed the topic. It's very comfortable. Zhuru is still filial. In the future, when you have nothing to do, come and give grandmother a massage. Ning Shu's voice was light as he agreed. The Dowager Duchess was old and went to take an afternoon nap. After that, the sick Gu Fanlu was carried back to Marquis Xianping's residence. No matter how much Gu Fanlu didn't want to come back, her delicate body was weak and she was carried back to Marquis Xianping's residence. Ning Shu stood in the pavilion and looked at the weak Gu Fanlu. Ning Shu didn't go near Gu Fanlu. There was no need to flaunt his prowess and make Gu Fanlu suspicious. If Gu Fanlu was suspicious, it would arouse Zhuo Kairen's suspicion. She was just an ordinary girl in the inner courtyard. She didn't step out of the house and embroidered. Miss, young master doesn't find it troublesome to go back and forth like this. When will the illness be cured? Lian Xiao was a straightforward girl. She asked whatever was on her mind. Ning Shu said, just walk around like this and breathe in the fresh air. After that, the illness will be cured. Lian Xiao's face was full of question marks. Ning Shu returned to his courtyard and picked up the embroidery to embroider the word longevity. After a while, it would be the Dowager Duchess's 60th birthday. Miss, Sister Cui, who serves Madam, came and said that Madam has something to discuss with you. Ning Shu put down the embroidery and moved his neck. He asked, did Cui say anything? The Marquis is also here. Ning Shu tidied up and followed Cui to Madame Rongwa's courtyard. Ning Shu entered the room and felt that the atmosphere was very tense. Marquis Xianping's face was dark as he drank tea. Madame Rongwa looked helpless. Ning Shu bowed. Father, what happened? Madame Rongwa couldn't help but sigh. She looked at Ning Shu with eyes full of love and helplessness. Marquis Xianping placed the teacup on the table and said directly, the marriage between Marquis Xianping and Prince Exin cannot go through. Ning Shu's expression didn't change. Your daughter will listen to father. Marquis Xianping's expression became slightly better. You are not going to ask me why? No matter what father does, it is for the sake of the Marquis Xianping's residence, Ning Shu said. From today onwards, you will be infected with a serious illness. When the time comes, I will cancel this marriage. Madame Rongwa spoke. Marquis, why must you be infected with a serious illness? This is too unfair to Zhu Ru. Who would dare to marry Zhu Ru in the future? Why not find an enlightened monk and say that the two of them are incompatible? Back then, when the 8 characters were matched, it was said to be a heaven-sent match. Now, you are saying that the 8 characters are incompatible. Do you think others are stupid? How should I explain this to His Majesty? Marquis Xianping's residence had a headache. He really couldn't figure out how he had offended Zhuoche to the point that he wouldn't let him go. It wasn't easy for him to gather 3 million taels and 20,000 dan of grain. In the end, Zhuoche was still not satisfied. He told His Majesty that the disaster in Hanyang was too serious and there was already a riot. This amount of money was not enough. Zhuoche had always been liked by His Majesty. He agreed with Zhuoche's words. He also felt that this amount was a little too little. Marquis Xianping really wanted to curse. Marquis Xianping didn't want to marry his daughter over now. Of course, the one who would suffer was still his daughter, regardless of whether she was married or not. Madame Rongwa's heart ached for her daughter. This was the legitimate daughter of Marquis Xianping's residence. She had been raised well. She had poems and songs, rules and etiquette. The daughter that she had painstakingly raised was ruined just like that. Not to mention that this was trampling on Marquis Xianping's residence's face. This was her own daughter. What do you think? Marquis Xianping felt a little guilty when he saw that Ning Shu didn't make a fuss or cry. Ning Shu bowed. Daughter will listen to father. Father doesn't want daughter to marry into Prince Xian's residence because he loves daughter dearly. Daughter understands this in her heart. If she were to marry into Prince Xian's residence, she would be in a dilemma. Marquis Xianping's residence had been destroyed. Su Zhu had been circling around in the mountains of romance, singing decadent songs of romance. Her heart was already riddled with holes and incomparably vicissitudes of life. She had originally thought that. Chapter 2899. I'm going to the City of Laws. You stay here. She was going to find the man in the Cheongsam to purify the soul fluid, and then she was going to bring the heart back. They were like conjoined twins, following her wherever she went. If she wanted to do a mission, they would have to follow her too. No, I want to go too. The spiritual tentacles wrapped tightly around Ning Shu. Ning Shu's expression was unfriendly. You can't go there. What if you get caught? Although the judge might be looking for the bastard Jingqing everywhere, what if he suddenly came back and bumped into him? Ning Shu always had the lowest expectations for his luck. It was always right to think of the worst. If he thought he was lucky, he would definitely be unlucky. Murphy's Law was right. The heart said, I knew you would abandon me and run away at any time. You fucking wait here. This is my home. No matter how far I run, I will come back. Ning Shu was really annoyed. He wanted to slap it. Who told you to be so clingy and annoying? I don't care. The spiritual tentacles wrapped Ning Shu like a mummy. Ning Shu, bastard, acting coquettishly was too disgusting. Ning Shu had no choice but to bring it to the City of Time. Along the way, Ning Shu dragged the heart, which attracted a lot of attention. Especially the heart's prematurely aged white hair. It was especially attractive. More people looked at the heart. This was a person, right? How could a person appear here? Ning Shu dragged the heart to the restaurant. The man in the Cheongsam was drinking tea leisurely. When he saw Ning Shu, he spat out the tea and asked anxiously, Why did you bring him here? Ning Shu was expressionless. Don't you know what kind of person he is? He was really tired of carrying a person. His heart felt like it was crippled. The man in the Cheongsam quickly got a private room. It was not in the hall. Only the heart, with its thick white hair and colorful eyes, would turn heads 100%. When they arrived at the private room, Ning Shu asked the heart to let go of him. Seeing someone familiar, the heart was not so dependent on Ning Shu for the time being, so it let go of him. Ning Shu took out some of the soul sap he had found and added some to the soul sap that Yi Lin had given him. The man in the Cheongsam sent the soul fluid to be purified. While waiting, Ning Shu ordered a table full of dishes. She really needed to vent. Let's eat. When he saw these dishes, he was full and wanted to eat more. He grabbed them with his hands. Ning Shu was speechless. He suddenly lost his appetite. Ning Shu put down his chopsticks and said to the Cheongsam man, "How are the sales of spirit stones? I've already spread the news. Some people have also asked about it, but everyone is wary of this thing. After all, no one has used it before. I don't know what the aftereffects are," the Cheongsam man said, shaking his head. "It's all right. Let's wait a little longer." The most important thing was that the spirit stone was actually the same as the soul stone. There were impurities in it. One worked on the soul while the other worked on the spirit ball. No one knew what would happen if the spirit ball was contaminated. Ning Shu looked at the heart that was eating and drinking. Could it be that there was a way to purify the heart like an earthworm? The heart's face was covered in oil. He turned to look at Ning Shu. "What's wrong?" Ning Shu shook her head. The soul sap purified by the main system was sent over. Ning Shu picked up his share and gulped it down. Ning Shu became a little more solid. It was no longer transparent. He could not take things through it anymore. However, that was all he could do with the soul sap. "What are you drinking? I want to drink it too." He felt that Ning Shu was drinking something good because he saw the look of enjoyment on her face when she drank it. He picked up the bottle and licked it, trying to taste it. Ning Shu was speechless. She could not look straight at him. She really didn't want to play with this person anymore. Ning Shu was really annoyed. She was going to ask how to raise the world tree later. Right now, the world tree seed only had a small bud tip. It had just started to germinate and had not grown leaves yet. Ning Shu was afraid that the world tree seed would die. Ning Shu said to the Cheongsam man, "Look after him. I have something to do. Help me get a spatial passage to that world. I'll pay you later." The Cheongsam man shook his head. "No, I seriously suspect that you want to run away. Leave him to me." Ning Shu said, "Why would I? I'm going to ask about the world tree. I'll be back later." "Then take him with you." Ning Shu said, "Hide him here first." The Cheongsam man waved his fan. Ning Shu rolled her eyes. This guy was really annoying, but the heart did not feel the disdain of the people around him at all. He held the bottle and licked it like a dog. After licking for a while, he said to Ning Shu, "It's tasteless." Ning Shu ignored him and said to the Cheongsam man, "Help me get a spatial passage." The Cheongsam man nodded. "Okay, take him with you." Ning Shu was troubled. She was going to ask the silver-haired man about the world tree. If the silver-haired man saw the heart, it meant that the main system knew. If the main system knew, it meant that the judge knew. Ning Shu was very sad. She took the heart to the outside of the consultation room and asked it to wait outside and not enter. Before Ning Shu finished speaking, the heart went in first. Ning Shu was speechless. "Can't you just stay still for a few seconds?" With such a dangerous older child, she wanted to scream and explode. "Since you've been found, don't blame others for taking you away." Ning Shu walked into the consultation room slowly. Who would win if the silver-haired man or the heart fought? Ning Shu thought that it would be better to let the higher-ups worry than to let the heart bother her. If the heart and the silver-haired man fought later, she would run away quickly. The silver-haired man came out of the room and lifted the curtain to see the white-haired man's heart. He was stunned for a moment, but soon came back to himself. Ning Shu asked, "What do you want to ask this time? Is it him?" The silver-haired man looked at the heart. The heart was looking around. Seeing the two of them staring at it, it said, "Don't worry about me." Ning Shu said, "He's purely spiritual. He shouldn't be a human. It's not against the rules for me to take him with me. Most importantly, I can't beat him." The silver-haired man said, "Where did you find him?" Ning Shu said, "The void world." The silver-haired man said, "Going to the void world is against the rules." Ning Shu was speechless. What did that mean? The organization stipulates that we can't go to the void world frequently. The void world is in the gap between the world of samsara and the world of living. There is no stable space. Also, if external forces enter frequently, the world will break. Once the world breaks, the explosion will shake the nearby worlds. If earthquakes and tsunamis occur in the world of living, the surrounding worlds will also explode. Ning Shu was speechless. Although the organization prohibited it, there were still many people who went to the void world in private. It couldn't be stopped. They didn't announce it to the public, but they still did well. Chapter 2900. Unexpectedly, going to the void world was forbidden by an organization. Ning Shu changed the topic and asked, "How should I raise the world tree? My world tree has just sprouted. It doesn't even have any leaves. How do I raise it?" The silver-haired man glanced at Ning Shu and did not mention the void world. This kind of thing could not be stopped even if one wanted to. When it has leaves, it will form a world. At that time, it can be fused with the soul. The silver-haired man said calmly. Ning Shu asked, "Then will fusing with the soul have any effect on the soul?" Fusing with the soul, you are the world tree's nutrient. The world tree will absorb part of your soul power, but of course, not all of it. If your soul is weak, the world tree's growth will be very slow. Ning Shu said, "Oh, then, my seed that just sprouted can't fuse with the world tree?" The silver-haired man said, "Yes, and in your soul state, you can't force the fusion. Not only will it destroy the world tree, but your soul won't be able to withstand it. It's too weak." Ning Shu was speechless. Even if she wanted to fuse, the world tree situation did not allow it. More importantly, her soul was too weak. Ning Shu asked, "Then how do I raise the world tree that hasn't grown any leaves?" If the seed became moldy, if the bud rotted, the seed would be almost useless. Especially a seed that was not easy to obtain. If it was wasted, Ning Shu's heart would ache. There's really no way. It depends on the world tree's growth, but try to give it a better growing environment. Ning Shu said, "Oh, there was no air or sunlight in the system space, so it should not be suitable for the world tree's growth. Then where should he put the world tree? Wood City. Wood City had a lot of energy, so it should be able to make the world tree grow well. No matter how awesome the world tree was, it was still a tree. Then he would put the world tree in the city lord of Wood City. That would solve one problem." Ning Shu asked, "How much?" Fortunately, the man in the Cheongsam paid him this time. Otherwise, Ning Shu suspected that he did not have the money to pay the consultation fee. 50,000 merit points. The silver-haired man said faintly. He glanced at the heart that was looking around. "You should restrain this person. If he does anything, it will be on your head." What the fuck? She had to be responsible for the actions of her heart. Was she the father or mother of her heart? Why should she be implicated? The problem was, could she control her heart? Could she stop her heart from doing anything? Ning Shu said directly, "I don't care really. There are so many mission enforcers in these places, and there's also a law city. If you cause a ruckus in a law city, not only will he be out of luck, you'll also be implicated because you're one. Even if you're not one, you'll still be implicated." Ning Shu knelt down. "All right, all of you are very domineering." If he were to be implicated, would he have to follow his heart obediently in the future? He couldn't do this, and he couldn't do that. Then, if his heart was annoyed, he might kill her. Ning Shu had never thought of getting any benefits from his heart. Now, he just wanted to get rid of him. Besides, as long as he was not a puppet, everyone had their own mood and way of doing things. A puppet could do something like wholeheartedly for someone. No matter what the mission was, a puppet would wholeheartedly complete it. It required human intelligence and agility, but it also required wholehearted obedience and love. It was impossible to have both at the same time. Human nature was both selfless and selfish, self-interested and beneficial to others. Human dignity and faith could not be the same. In short, everyone had a temper. If her strength could be on par with the heart, she would not be so troubled. Everything was because she could not beat him. If it really reached a critical point and touched the bottom line, Ning Shu was afraid that she would not be able to tolerate it and directly throw him into the law of nothingness. However, that would be a serious injury or death, and the consequences would be serious. Ning Shu was not willing to go that far. The silver-haired man said, "You can ask the organization to take care of him for you." Ning Shu said, "That's good. This person is not weak. It's not bad to work for the organization. You can pay him as you see fit." Ning Shu had the upper hand. He was afraid that he would ask her to pay when he asked her to take care of him. The organization must have taken in the heart because it was useful. They must let the heart do things. Then he would take the money from her and let the heart do things. Ning Shu would never agree to take benefits from both sides. The silver-haired man glanced at Ning Shu. "No charge." Ning Shu said to the heart, "I have something to discuss with you." The heart moved closer to Ning Shu and asked in a low voice that everyone in the room could hear, "What's the matter?" Ning Shu pointed at the silver-haired man who was flipping through the book and said, "See that person? He is the wisest and knows the most. As long as you follow him, he can answer a lot of your questions. I'm an angel who fulfills people's wishes. I still have work to do. You can follow him and go anywhere." The heart squinted at Ning Shu. "You're going to leave me behind and run away." Ning Shu was really annoyed. She didn't think she had any responsibility for the heart. "What do you mean by leaving you behind? I'm still in this organization. Where can I go?" She hadn't done a mission for a long time. She had to fight for the power of the soul to strengthen her soul and then merge it with the tree of world. She had the time to take the heart everywhere. The heart had the capital to go everywhere, but she didn't. Because the source of life formed the body, the heart didn't even say thank you to her. Instead, it kept pestering her. Did it think that she had to be responsible for him because she gave him the body? She might as well let him lie in the mountains for the rest of his life. As time went by, his energy would be exhausted and he would eventually die. She really couldn't calm the heart down. It kept pestering her with its spiritual tentacles. Did she have to follow it to do missions? No, she couldn't do missions at all because she was tied up. "I'm not going. I'm not going." The heart shook its head violently and glanced at the silver-haired man. "You're going to hand me over to a stranger. How can you do this?" "You know I'm scared." Ning Shu held her forehead. "Then I'll send you back. I'll send you back to your original world." "I'm not going back." The heart still shook its head. Ning Shu's heart exploded. "I can't do this, I can't do that. I still have my own things to do. I can't take you with me all the time. Then what do you want? Send you to heaven." She just couldn't beat him. The heart's eyes were like fried eggs. It looked like it wanted to cry but didn't. Ning Shu was completely immune to this expression. Sorry, she really didn't feel anything in her heart. She even wanted to laugh coldly. She was just so heartless, cold, and unreasonable. Ning Shu said to the silver-haired man, "I've discussed it with him. He completely agrees to go with you." Chapter 2901. This child is willing to shine for the organization. "I don't." "Look," he agreed. "Take him with you." He's so excited that he can't speak." Ning Shu tidied up the clothes for the heart. "Be obedient." It was as if he had to listen to the teacher in school. The heart looked at Ning Shu expressionlessly. "So exaggerated. You don't want me to follow you?" The heart suddenly became serious. Ning Shu also became serious. "There's always a distance between people. Do you think it's appropriate for you to tie me up and drag me around every time?" "As long as I think it's appropriate." Ning Shu was speechless. Typical self-awareness. Not serving. Ning Shu and the heart were chattering. The silver-haired man seemed to be uninvolved. He flipped through his book leisurely. "Are you done discussing?" "I'm leaving. There's a fee for staying here." Ning Shu asked the silver-haired man, "How will the organization treat someone like him when they accept him?" "Watch over him to prevent him from causing any trouble. Of course, we won't treat him harshly. After all, for someone like him who's born with a silver spoon in his mouth, there's always a use for him. Teach him how to use his abilities reasonably," the silver-haired man explained. Ning Shu heaved a sigh of relief. She was afraid that the heart would be hung there and either dripped wax or whipped. She couldn't treat the heart now because she wasn't strong enough. She couldn't establish a dignified image in front of the heart. She couldn't make the heart revere her, but there were too many strong people in the organization. She could make the heart restrain a little. The heart was now like a child holding a bomb. If she was in a good mood, she would throw one. If she was in a bad mood, she would throw two. The harm was too great. There had to be awareness. She couldn't teach it. When she spoke, the heart had an attitude of, "No, I won't, I won't." If she could beat the heart, she would have done it a long time ago. Ning Shu said to the heart earnestly, "If you want to understand this world, you have to follow this person. He's a nice guy." In order to push his heart out, Ning Shu went against his conscience and praised the silver-haired man. The heart looked at Ning Shu calmly and said, "What if I don't want to go? You seem to be controlling me now." Ning Shu narrowed his eyes and said, "You're the one who's controlling me. I'll be frank with you. I don't want you by my side." The heart tilted its head and asked, "Why?" "Because it's inconvenient. Because you're pestering me, I can't do anything." Being entangled by the spiritual tentacles, he couldn't even complete the mission. His strong heart allowed him to lie down and do whatever he wanted, but she couldn't. She hadn't reached the point where she could be willful as she pleased. If she could be willful, she would not treat her heart as a burden. After all, she could beat it up for no reason. The heart scoffed and turned to leave the consultation room. The silver-haired man took out a piece of paper. The paper chased after the heart and finally sucked it into the paper. "Ning Shu, I will never forgive you for what you did to me." "I'm scared," the heart's voice drifted, but it had already been sucked into the paper. The paper slowly floated back to the silver-haired man's hand and was embedded in the page. Ning Shu frowned and asked, "Are you sure it's not right? What will happen to him?" The silver-haired man said calmly, "Nothing. After all, such a person will be of help on the battlefield in the future. It won't hurt him. There won't be any danger to his life. He will become stronger and stronger, but I can't guarantee what the process will be like." Ning Shu was speechless. At this moment, the silver-haired man exuded a sinister and cruel aura. Ning Shu asked, "Will you teach him personally?" The silver-haired man thought for a moment and nodded. "That's fine. I can teach him personally." She suddenly wanted to light a candle for her heart. She was afraid that her heart would hate her to death when they met in the future. She would think about it in the future. If she stayed with her heart like this, she wouldn't be able to do anything. She spent all her time on her heart. That was cruel to herself, especially when the ultimate martial art was shrinking for some unknown reason. If she didn't seize the time to make herself stronger, she could only cry helplessly when the time came. She really had enough of feeling powerless. As for her heart, she had to prepare for the worst. It would be an enemy in the future. The silver-haired man said calmly, "Do you have any other questions?" Ning Shu shook his head and took out his identity card to pay the bill. The silver-haired man held the book, lifted the curtain, and went into the inner room. She handed over the things she couldn't control to others. The black fog was handed over to His Excellency, and the heart was handed over to the silver-haired man. Ning Shu was a little curious about how the silver-haired man would teach her heart. Her heart was definitely a mischievous child. She did everything according to her own wishes. After leaving the consultation room, Ning Shu hurried to the restaurant where the man in the cheongsam was drinking tea. He said to the man in the cheongsam who was drinking tea, "There's no need to buy the space passage to the void world." The man in the cheongsam put down his teacup. "I've already asked. There's no more. By the way, where's that kid? Did you throw him away?" Ning Shu rolled his eyes. How could he throw him away? He was taken away by the organization. The man in the cheongsam nodded. "That's good. Ordinary people really can't control that guy. Let the organization have a headache. You can also relax." Ning Shu nodded. Indeed, she could relax and do what she wanted to do. Ning Shu told the man in the cheongsam that if there were any good treasures in the future, they would go and find them together. This kind of thing was a gray area. The organization couldn't put an end to it. They couldn't stop mission enforcers from going to these worlds, especially when there was a high profit behind it. The silver-haired man knew that she had gone to the void world. He didn't say what punishment she would receive. It was like the class rules hanging on the wall, but there weren't many people who followed them. The organization probably didn't expect anyone to follow such a rule. It was just that they didn't know when they would be ruthlessly taken advantage of. With such a rule, there was a reason to take advantage of them. The man in the cheongsam nodded. If there's anything next time, I'll definitely call you. We've worked together once. Let's work together in the future. Ning Shu reached out and high-fived him. Okay. Back in the system space, Ning Shu carried the basin with the world seed and went to Wood City. He placed the world tree seed in the city lord's mansion of Wood City, hoping that the energy of Wood City would help the world tree grow better. In order to prevent his world tree from being lost, Ning Shu set up several barriers around the city lord's mansion. If people knew that the city lord's mansion had a world tree, they would definitely flock over. After setting up barriers around the city lord's mansion, Ning Shu strengthened the barriers around Wood City. At the same time, he strengthened the water and earth law cities. After returning to the system space, he entered the ultimate martial arts and threw a few star stones into the lake of the void law. At the same time, he used the earth law to strengthen the soil around the void law. Chapter 2902. Consolidate the soil and add some vitality to the world. The source of life could even form a body, so there was no harm in giving the world some energy. Maybe it could even stop shrinking. Facing the shrinking of the world, Ning Shu had asked a lot of people, but they were not very clear. The world of faith had an instinct to save itself, and Ning Shu only hoped that this instinct was correct and a good thing. Then he opened the system exchange store, exchanged for fasting pills, water, and medicine, and went to do the mission. When he was ready, Ning Shu said to the system, "I'm going to do the mission." After absorbing some soul fluid and the power of the soul from doing the mission, her soul should be able to hold on when doing the mission. Ning Shu said to the system, "You can do the mission now." The system asked, "Please choose the difficulty of the mission so that you can choose and match." Ning Shu thought about it. He was a super taskmaster. He couldn't always choose some weak missions to do. It would damage his glorious image. So he said, "Well, let's do a more difficult world this time." System, understood. In the process of teleportation, Ning Shu didn't feel as uncomfortable as before. His soul was stronger, and the backup system was very gentle during the process of teleportation. The backup system was intelligent and had no personal emotions. In the process of teleportation, Ning Shu suddenly thought of where the backup system's energy came from. It could allow her to travel between planes and accurately locate the client. Unlike the soul system, which required a fixed amount of power of the soul. He would ask the next time he came back. After merging into a body, Ning Shu opened his eyes and saw a room with a slightly sci-fi layout. It seemed that this was a more futuristic plane. Ning Shu began to accept the plot. After accepting the plot, Ning Shu's face was shocked. He quickly reached out and touched his lower body, 2 sets of organs, yin and yang. One look and one could tell that this was not a normal world. To be precise, this was an ABO world. What was an ABO world? People were divided into 6 genders. Everyone had 2 sets of shengs. According to the difference in shengs, missing or underdeveloped, people were divided into 3 types. Alpha, because they never get pregnant, they have always been designated as warriors or leaders. There are not many of them, but they are natural warriors. Betas had both male and female internal and external organs and could function, but they rarely emitted the scent of estrus and rarely went into estrus. They could enjoy mating without any burden, and they could mate at will without bonding. They can get pregnant and start a family, but the fertility rate is not high. She was a good worker. EGAs have high fertility rates, have intense estrus periods, and emit pheromones to distract others until they mate with someone else, usually an alpha. Usually, they are busy with pregnancy and childbirth and are not considered fit for work. It is the rarest of all the male genders. To put it simply, male and female alpha are super scions, male and female beta are ordinary people. Male and female EGA are the weakest, but they have the strongest fertility and will go into estrus. However, they must be paired with the strongest alpha. EGA, whether male or female, had extremely high fertility and was responsible for giving birth. Their bodies would release odors, liquids, and so on, which had a fatal attraction to the strongest alpha. These were called pheromones. Moreover, EGA's estrus could only be solved by alpha. Anyway, once they went into estrus, they would definitely get pregnant. Male EGA's breasts could also expand and produce milk to feed the next generation. Ningshu? Depending on the plot, the estrus period was as uncertain as the ant, and it suddenly began. However, an inhibitor to suppress estrus was also developed, but the effect was not very great. To put it simply, the strongest alpha and the weakest EGA were a natural match. The alpha with the best physical fitness could mark the EGA. It was equivalent to printing a mark, urinating with one's own scent, marking that this EGA had an owner and was his. As for such a mark, it was a bit shameful. The organ would grow a knot, expand, and then mark its own pheromone in the EGA's body. In addition to the mark, the organ would grow a knot, which was when doing that, to prevent the EGA from escaping and not letting it run away. Ningshu? Well, these settings were actually for the convenience of stewing meat and could be ignored. In short, all the settings were reasonable for the purpose of having sex. After all, instinctive cyanosis could not be cured. The beta in the middle was not sensitive to the EGA's pheromone and was not tempted. He often looked at the alpha and O with a cold expression, and the air was filled with the smell of meat. Attached paragraph. Hello everyone, I'm a beta. I studied hard and got into a first-rate military university. I graduated with excellent results and became a soldier of the empire. Every day, I drive an awesome mech and patrol the streets. Track down criminals. Maintain law and order. Protect world peace. But no matter what a beta like me does, there will always be an alpha and an EGA behind me. This was the world of ABO. Get used to it and take a selfie with OOXX as the background. According to the rankings, alpha was the strongest and would not get pregnant. Beta was an ordinary person and had the largest number of people. It was not easy to get pregnant. Beta had the weakest social status and had the lowest social status with special physiques. They were often marked by alpha and became alpha's accessory. They were reproductive tools, and because they were troubled by cyanosis, they had to have sex. Therefore, it was clearly for sex, but they still let each person have two sets of organs. The client was a beta, an ordinary person who had already joined the workforce. His life was ordinary, and the only unusual thing was that he had an EGA brother. An EGA often had to go into estrus, so it was fine if he turned green, but he did not need to be an alpha. Every time he saw his brother turn green, he would rub around like an animal. It felt especially complicated. However, suppressants were not cheap. Although it was already a more sci-fi era where people could go to other planets to play when they had nothing to do, counterfeiting had always been thriving. If one bought a fake suppressant at a cheap price, it would be useless at all. Therefore, most of the client's salary was used to buy suppressants. On the other hand, the EJ brother was weak and not suitable for work. Moreover, he emitted sweet and attractive pheromones at all times. Walking on the street, he could be marked by alpha. He was dragged home to have sex with her. After all, he had a strong fighting power and was at the top of society. Just like the alpha wolf of a wolf pack, this ABO setting was born from a wolf pack. A pair of alpha male and female wolves belonging to the highest class were the leaders. A pair of beta male and female wolves were the leaders of the organization. The wolves in the lowest class of this social organization were called EJ. EJ was the lowest class, and there was usually only one wolf. The social class was high, while beta was low and could be marked at will. He could not go out, or else the client would not be able to find his brother anywhere. The birth of EJ was actually quite tragic. It was a rather tragic situation. Chapter 2903. He suffered from the torture of turning blue and the pain of childbirth. A was a superman among men. B was a normal man among men. O was a woman among men. But one day, EJ's brother turned blue and ran out. The result was imaginable. However, although EJ's brother was attacked by Alpha, he still ran away with the ball. Then Alpha looked for him all over the galaxy and caught his brother, who was the client. If you don't come back, I'll kill your brother. Client, fuck. During the escape, EJ's brother met another Alpha, who fucking did something to his brother, and then got pregnant again. EJ's brother kept getting pregnant and giving birth to children while on the run. Because EJ was rare, the pheromone produced by turning blue was something that even an Alpha couldn't resist. Basically, as soon as O's pheromone came out, even the strongest Alpha couldn't resist. EJ's brother, who had never been married, actually went from planet to planet and escaped from the Alpha who controlled most of the resources in the galaxy. And it wasn't just an Alpha. He had a bunch of children with him. The client was locked up, probably for the sake of EJ's brother, so they wouldn't take his life. However, they would torture him whenever they could. The more miserable he screamed, the better. It was made into a video. It was spread everywhere through the developed interstellar network. Even so, his brother wasn't caught. However, when his brother turned blue, there was no inhibitor, so he had to find an Alpha to relieve the pain of turning blue. Therefore, along the way, the younger knight was marked by many a lass, and each was stronger than the last. However, such a weak EJ actually escaped time and time again. Of course, some of the children were lost on the way. There were also some alas who knew about him through the interstellar network. They detained the children because they didn't want their brother to escape, but he still escaped. The client was locked up and didn't know how his brother was doing. Every once in a while, there would be new physical pain. Tia was actually a heartthrob for a lass. Under the influence of the pheromone, it was easy to develop true love. There was no news of his brother, which meant that his brother was safe, but it meant that he had to be locked up all the time. Every once in a while, he had to be pulled out to stimulate his brother. He was electrocuted, iced, and stabbed. All the ancient torture methods were used on his body. It would be great if he could confess, but the problem was that the client didn't know where his brother was. Actually, the client was the most inconspicuous character. He was an insignificant person who had sex all the way. This was a plot filled with the fragrance of meat. Ning Shu actually felt that this was a meaty world. If ABO wasn't meaty, it would be a hooligan. Not only did he want one piece of meat, he also wanted many pieces. In order to meet all kinds of people, he had to walk around. Only then could he meet different people and have sex with them. Suddenly, Ning Shu thought of the female protagonist who was constantly wandering around. It was similar to this. It was a little sad that he was born as an EJ. Perhaps his younger brother wanted to resist, but he ended up in an even worse situation. I had a lot of choices, just like how men in ancient times had multiple wives and concubines. O was the weaker one and was marked by A, so A could mark several O's. The client had suffered a little too much and his body couldn't take it anymore. He couldn't hold on until his brother came back. Although Bates' physical fitness was better than EJ's, the human body wasn't made of iron. In the end, he couldn't bear it. And so he died. Alpha. His brother was killed. How could he forgive them when he came back? In the end, his brother never came back. Perhaps he was completely imprisoned by an Alpha and couldn't come back. He didn't know where he wandered to. This was just a microcosm of the world. Perhaps his brother was already dead. Otherwise, why couldn't he be found? The client's wish was to live a simple life and find a suitable Alpha for his brother. He didn't want to wander around. Perhaps it was because his brother was forced from the beginning to the end. Perhaps it was because of the blue hair. Since O was destined to be with it, he would find an A for his brother. O was strong, O needed A's pheromone, and his brother could get A's protection. And the reward was O's strong fertility and contribution to the population. After Ning Shu accepted the plot, his face was bloody. This world was indeed a little difficult. As the brother who emitted sweet pheromones, he was a heartthrob. Of course, he was attacked. No, he was strongly welcomed by the Alpha attack. Ning Shu was still thinking about how to get his brother out of the fate of being a fugitive so that he could live a stable life. Touching the bottom, Ning Shu felt good. This kind of body structure was definitely abnormal in other worlds. 2 sets, both male and female. What a strong impact. Smelling the air was filled with the fragrance of meat. It felt like a lot of Alpha and EJ were crazily having sex at this moment. Ning Shu didn't dare to look at it at all. If she didn't go to the toilet, it was completely abnormal. Should she pee while squatting or standing? Brother, I feel uncomfortable. The door of the room was opened. A slender young man with long legs and a slender waist was leaning against the door. At this moment, his eyes were blurred, his legs were weak, and his face was flushed. He was rubbing against the wall with his whole body in pain. The zipper of his pants was already open, and the air was rippling with a fishy smell. Ning Shu's whole body bounced up. She quickly found the inhibitor from the storage box and poured it into Lance's mouth. Some inhibitor flowed out from the corner of Lance's mouth. It was pulled into a silk thread and dripped on the floor. Not to mention the Alpha, even Ning Shu, a girl, not a boy, no, a boy and a girl, felt that it was very unbearable to see this scene. The inhibitor's effect was very fast, but it took some time to take effect. Lance crawled on the ground and kept gasping for breath. His back was arched and his thin spine was exposed. In addition to the pheromone, such a young man with delicate features and a little stubbornness. No wonder so many Alpha were looking for him. They were rare and precious. Only the sound of Lance's panting could be heard in the room. It was hard to imagine that this delicate young man could make such a loud panting sound. Even his body was trembling. Obviously, he was trying his best to endure the physical torture. Ning Shu poured pure water for him. Lance raised his head. He was sweating profusely and his face was flushed. It was particularly attractive. His hair was wet on his forehead, strands by strands, and his thin collarbone was exposed under his shirt. Ning Shu, wow, little fresh meat. Ning Shu said to her brother in a serious manner, "Come, drink a glass of water." "Thank you, brother." Lance sat on the ground and drank water. His fingers were slender and thin, with distinct knuckles. A pair of beautiful hands. He stayed in the room all day and basically didn't go out. His skin was white and delicate. Ning Shu felt that the client raised her brother to be too beautiful. Chapter 2904. Even if he wanted to be a normal person, there would be alphas around him who would seduce him and force him. This was originally a world of meat. The only thing that made Ning Shu more relieved was that Lance didn't come back. If his brother died and came back, then he would still be entangled with those alphas. "You killed my brother, so I won't forgive you." "It doesn't matter, it's love." He was afraid that the client's heart was quite complicated. He was a little resentful that his brother didn't come back and he was tortured, but he was also a little relieved that his brother didn't come back. So what if he came back? He was still imprisoned by the Alpha. He killed himself, and his brother had to be entangled with the Alpha who killed him, which made him even angrier. Although an EGA can only be marked by an Alpha, if the latter Alpha is stronger than the former, the mark can be removed. With such a rare EJ brother, the client can't live an ordinary life. Lance gulped down the water in the cup. When he drank the water, his Adam's apple moved up and down, plus the rolling of sweat. Oh my, this scene is really moving. It's really good to have a little fresh meat, brother. Ning Shu took the empty cup from Lance's hand and said to him, "Brother, have you ever thought of finding an Alpha? You're always taking suppressants. Every medicine has a side effect. If you find an Alpha, you'll grow old together." Lance froze for a moment, shook his head and said, "Forget it, I'm young now, I'm an EG. Even if I'm marked by an Alpha, I'm still in a subordinate position, and an Alpha can mark multiple EJ." Ning Shu sighed, feeling that Lance was like an ordinary child with a young girl's heart, in a weak position, but he hoped to grow old together. Especially the Alphas were all influential people in the Empire. Damn, this is equivalent to letting an ancient aristocrat marry an ordinary girl. In terms of status, it's not equal. Of course, Ning Shu believes that they will be able to give birth to love, just like the love between Cinderella and the prince. As for the candidate, Ning Shu will not choose the alpha who tortured him before as a candidate. Ning Shu felt very melancholy. There were not many alphas, and he wanted to find someone Lance likes, and this alpha is strong enough. The mark will not be destroyed by other alphas. Since Lance reached the age of childbearing, he had begun to turn blue frequently and was in pain. It was not a solution to hold it in. Why did it feel like only the bait in the middle was a normal person? A and O were like animals, dominated by mating and smelling like animals. B can also mate, but that is of their own volition. After Lance's condition stabilized, he returned to his room. When he left, he scratched his head in embarrassment because of Qing Zhaoqing's indecent behavior. He was so ashamed that he didn't want to see anyone. Sometimes, because of sexual desire, she would do something indescribably ugly. Ning Shu looked normal as if nothing had happened. He said, "You rest first. I have something to tell you later." Lance nodded and walked out of the room. The door closed automatically. Ning Shu sat cross-legged and started to cultivate. This was an interstellar plane and there was no spiritual chi here. There should be astral energy here. Sure enough, as soon as he absorbed it, a silvery substance flowed into his meridians. No matter where you are, having the power to protect yourself is the best. Ning Shu touched his chin. If the weak EGA had the ability to split stones with his bare hands, would he still be easily imprisoned by alphas? However, turning blue at the slightest movement was a big problem. Once it turned blue, he would need to have sex with alphas, but once he had sex, it would be easy to get pregnant. Ning Shu, dear, use contraceptive measures. Fuck. It seems that peerless martial arts can still be used in this world. Should I let Lance learn as well? What if after learning martial arts, his blood will be vigorous and it will be easier for him to turn blue? Yes, there is also the clear heart mantra. If he turns blue, he will recite the clear heart mantra. Coupled with the suppressant, it should make Lance's situation better. Ning Shu cultivated for a while and felt hungry. He took out the nutrient solution. The nutrient solution was a common way of eating now. It was tasteless. However, it could fill the stomach and he would not need to eat for several days. Of course, there was also food. Eating fresh vegetables, steaks, and carefully cooked food was something that only the nobles of the empire could enjoy. Ordinary people could not enjoy it. The more primitive something was, the more expensive and enjoyable it was. The nutrient solution looked convenient and advanced, but it was something that only civilians and ordinary people would eat. Ning Shu smacked his lips. He had to go to a restaurant to eat grass. It was so expensive. Ning Shu pushed open Lance's door. Lance was looking at the family's AI and learning through it. It would be better if there was a robot at home. However, their family situation was not good, so they did not buy a life robot. "Brother, what's the matter?" Lance, who had returned to normal and was not tortured by his blue hair, was a thin and good-looking young man. He was full of bookish and vitality. He had the face of a first love, like the school hunk. Ning Shu, it's so good to be young. She was afraid that she had been absorbed by his pheromone. Otherwise, she would feel that this little fresh meat was especially tender and cute. She was a bait. And which one to use? Ning Shu's mind inevitably began to imagine indescribable things. Ning Shu blushed. "Brother?" Lance saw his brother's mischievous expression and did not know what ripples he was thinking. Ning Shu came back to his senses and felt that it was because the pheromone smell in this room was too strong. It seriously disturbed her and polluted her pure heart. Ning Shu put on an unfathomable expression and said to Lance, "Brother, I got an ancient secret book." Lance said indifferently, "A long, long time ago, the kind that could leap over roofs and vault over walls. Brother, we all use mechas now. Mechas can also fly and run very fast." Ning Shu, the problem is that we two poor people can't afford mechas. We can't afford them. Ning Shu said, "Practicing this can strengthen the body. It's good to practice when you have nothing to do. Brother, if you're sick and have problems with your organs, you can totally rely on technology to treat it. This kind of primitive healthcare method is not only a waste of time, but also not necessarily correct. It will harm the body. Lance refuted Ning Shu with a straight face. If it were someone else, he would have directly said, "Is there something wrong with your brain? I advise you to change your brain." Ning Shu, / she always failed in her sales. She was not a qualified salesperson. "Do you want to take it or not?" Ning Shu insisted on giving it to his brother. He said, "I've already practiced it. The effect is quite good. If you don't believe me, you can try it. I feel like my whole body has been sublimated. It feels like a king descending to the world." Lance looked helpless. "Brother, what era are we in now? You still believe in this? Do you know what retro is? Do you know what classic is?" Chapter 2905. Since you don't practice peerless martial arts, then I recommend you the ancient scriptures, which can calm the heart like still water. At the end of the phone, Lance was quite helpless. "Brother, how much did these things cost you? Why do you believe in these things?" Ning Shu said, "This kind of thing is a thing, I know about it privately. I heard that this is a scripture written with blood by an eminent monk in ancient times. Recite one sentence and the heart is like still water. Recite 2 sentences and have no resentment or hatred. Recite 3 sentences and the 6 senses are pure. Recite 4 sentences and become a monk. After reciting one can ascend to paradise." Lance looked at Ning Shu with inexplicable eyes. "Brother, modern science has confirmed that Elysium does not exist. It is a fictional thing of foolish people. It is not foolish, but a tool to consciously guide people to do good." Ning Shu, screw modern science. Although it is fictional, this kind of scripture can really calm the heart. You listen, brother will read you a paragraph. Ning Shu began to recite the clear mind mantra. Lance just looked at Ning Shu with a kind of tolerance. "You are messing around." The clear mind mantra came out of Ning Shu's mouth. With a special charm, Lance listened quietly, listening, and actually fell asleep, sleeping very deeply. Ning Shu, sister can't recommend it to you. When Lance wakes up, I will continue to recommend it. The most important thing now is to practice. She wants to take Lance away from this planet. The alpha of this planet has been blacklisted by her to go to other planets. And before leaving, she must let these people have a taste of the 10 great tortures of the Qing dynasty. But at this time, the Ming dynasty is really developed. The distance between planets can be calculated at the speed of light. It is a bit difficult to do to a person, especially a noble alpha. The other party has mecha, armor, a strong body, and some have undergone genetic modification. They have strong spiritual power to control the mecha. Fuck you. So difficult. But it is hard to calm down if you don't vent your anger. The person who entrusted you was tortured to death. But if you are found, you are likely to be wanted. The news spread between the stars is too fast. In particular, a means of transportation such as wormholes would be carefully examined and discovered with a single glance. Ships would also be investigated. Forget it, I'll cultivate first. As long as I cultivate, I'll definitely find a way. To sum up, he could only use underhanded methods and could not be detected. He could vent his anger and run away after beating him up. He had to teach Lance the ultimate martial arts with him. Even if he was green, if he met an alpha that he didn't like, he could still resist. The power of the stars was very strong, especially when they were outdoors. The power of the stars was simply amazing. As he cultivated, a silver lake appeared in his dantian. After cultivating for a while, Ning Shu had to go out to work. His client's job was to take down the abandoned mecha and other useful parts of the mecha. These parts would then be reprocessed into mecha. To put it bluntly, it was scavenging. They collected useful things and handed them over to the department in charge of making mechas. The working environment was quite dirty, and the radiation was quite high. Bei was not affected and controlled by pheromones. Bei was a pretty good worker, and the main labor force was Bei. As soon as he went out, the sky was full of mecha and flying saucers flying everywhere, high and low, with specific air routes. The surrounding buildings were full of science fiction, irregular and shiny. Well, the light pollution was a bit serious. Ning Shu walked into the scrapped mecha field and looked at the overwhelming number of scrapped mecha and mecha. Ning Shu put on her uniform and began to dig through the large pieces of metal, looking for useful things. She would do this job temporarily, wait for some money, and it would be easier to escape in the future. Besides, Lance's cultivation would also take some time. She still had to go check out the place and prepare to vent her anger. Work was a must. She had to buy enough nutrient solutions. Although nutrient solutions were tasteless, they were filling. The most important thing was that they had a long shelf life. Food had a short shelf life and was easy to rot. It was something that only the rich in the empire could eat. Nutrient solutions were originally developed for the army, but they were highly sought after by civilians. Just put together what the body needed and stir it. Ning Shu didn't know Lance's escape route, nor did she know that he was on other planets and had any entanglements with other alphas, so she had to go to a more remote place. These mecha had a lot of metals, and these metals belonged to different planets. These resources were precious. Sometimes interstellar battles were for these resources, or even a mine. Wars happened for rare metals. The Empire was monitored by the Federation to avoid many wars. There were so many empires, large and small, countless. Even a planet was an empire. There were also empires that were quite large, occupying a galaxy and expanding to the side. The stronger the strong, the weaker the weak, and they would even be devoured. Even so, the Empire and the Federation were still looking for planets around them. Even if this planet was uninhabited, it might be desolate, but there might be rare metals. If it was really discovered that this planet had rare metals, there would be another fight and snatch for the ownership of this planet. Of course, these things had little to do with him, a bottom feeder. After all, he was a poor guy who couldn't even afford a mecha. Mecha were equivalent to weapons in this era, something for self-defense. Even interstellar pirates had top-notch mecha equipment, not to mention the equipment of the Empire's army. After finishing work, Ning Shu returned home and went to find Lance immediately. He didn't know if Lance had woken up or not. Walking into Lance's room, he found that Lance wasn't inside. Ning Shu hurriedly searched the small room and scanned the room with his spiritual power, but he didn't find Lance. Ning Shu slapped his thigh. Fuck, did Lance run out and get carried away by someone? If so, he was afraid that he would fall into the fate of being caught again. In this era of advanced technology, it was basically impossible to escape. With all kinds of equipment and black technology, it was difficult to escape. Ning Shu hurriedly went out to look for Lance, wondering who was the first person to carry Lance away. If Lance was really taken away, it would be a little difficult for her to rescue Lance from an Alpha's hand. Alpha had power and influence in the Empire. It was too easy to deal with an ordinary person like her. Help, someone is kidnapping a man. Brother? Lance was carrying a box. Seeing Ning Shu's anxious look, he asked, "What's wrong?" Ning Shu breathed a sigh of relief and then said angrily, "Didn't I tell you to stay at home and not go out? You scared me to death." Lance carried the box and said, "There's no nutrient at home. I went to buy some." "Don't worry, I went to an ordinary shop. There's no alpha in that kind of place." Bei wasn't sensitive to EGA's pheromone. He wouldn't know that the person in front of him was an EGA unless he was an alpha/BK. Chapter 2906. Looking at how calm Lance was, Ning Shu felt that he had overreacted. However, as a child with delicate features, he was already eye-catching. Now that he was a male, he was even more dangerous. Commoners were really pitiful. If they had a strong background, they could still rely on the power of their family to protect themselves. In fact, Lance could be considered a burden. His body was weak and not suitable for work. He might turn green as he worked. If A happened to be around, their pheromones could make the other party lose their rationality. They would only want to possess him, ruthlessly possess him. Then, they would start to communicate intimately as if there was no one else around. In general, regardless of gender, A was the main aggressor. For AB like the client, she could be both aggressive and passive. She would definitely get pregnant after being spanked. She could give birth to the best offspring. The purer the blood, the stronger the offspring. As the strongest, A was the leader and dominator. They had excellent genes, superior intelligence, sufficient physical strength, and a strong desire to possess and control. The only disadvantage was that they could not withstand the pheromones. Once they smelled it, once they felt it, they would immediately turn from a human into a green animal. I have such excellent genes. I have to pass it down. It is the perfect reproductive tool. Especially when I am attracted to the other party. It is intolerable that A and B are not together. Logically speaking, with such a rare item, having one in the family was equivalent to having a treasure trove. If it was sent to A to reproduce, it could be sold for a lot of money. Of course, some people in the galaxy would treat it as a rare commodity and sell it to a who was at the top of the social pyramid. Their family would count on him to make a fortune from the strong A. No matter what era it was always harder for ordinary people to survive. The client did not treat his brother as a rare commodity. The two supported each other and relied on each other emotionally. If he were to start over, the client could completely abandon Lance and live alone. He would not spend most of his salary on suppressants, even if something happened to Lance in the future. If anything happened to him, he might not be implicated. However, the client did not do so. He did not want to abandon Lance. After all, they grew up together and relied on each other. Especially when he was lonely, the other party was his motivation. Although the consumption was high, there was such emotional support. The client wanted to solve this problem from the root. He wanted to find a reliable A and entrusted Lance to him. Lance carried the box into the house and put the nutrient solution in the container. Seeing Ning Shu's indifferent face, he asked, "Brother, is there something on your mind? Is it because of me that you feel very sleepy?" Ning Shu shook his head. "I'm thinking about how to get you to practice martial arts with me." Lance was speechless. Lance was really pestered by Ning Shu and had no choice but to agree to cultivate. Ning Shu first used his spiritual force to scan Lance's body and found that Lance's meridians were somewhat blocked. There were some places that were blocked. This kind of situation was not very suitable for practicing martial arts, whether it was in the past or now. His body was weak. Perhaps the blockage of his meridians was one of the reasons. Meridians were a relatively mysterious thing. Even though technology was very advanced now, people didn't care much about this kind of thing. If Lance were to cultivate, when the chi reached a blocked area and could not pass through, that area would produce a swelling pain. Of course, he could still cultivate. After all, there were other meridians that were normal. But this kind of pain might make Lance give up on cultivating. Ning Shu expressed his frustration and said to Lance, "Give it a try. It should be easy to cultivate." With the power of stars, he could absorb this kind of thing without spiritual energy. Lance helplessly sat cross-legged as Ning Shu said and then began to cultivate. He closed his eyes and frowned, looking a little uncomfortable. He opened his eyes and shook his head. "I feel chest tightness and chest pain. It seems that this kind of thing can't be cultivated." "Brother, are you also going to cultivate this kind of thing of unknown origin that hasn't been scientifically verified?" "Brother, don't be superstitious. You don't even know when this theory of yours came up." Ning Shu was speechless. Being looked at by a young man with pure and serious eyes, he didn't feel ashamed at all. Ning Shu said firmly, "Your chest hurts because the meridians in your chest are blocked. If you keep cultivating, this heartache will definitely be solved. If you could overturn an then you were awesome. You have to cultivate. If it hurts all the time, then give up," Ning Shu ordered. Lance looked at Ning Shu with his clear eyes. "Brother, you've been a little anxious recently. Is there something wrong with your organs? Do you want to go for a checkup?" Treating this kind of absurd thing as a life-saving straw, "My brother is too anxious. My brother is too anxious. What should I do? He always wants me to practice martial arts. He wants me to walk on snow without leaving a trace. What should I do? I'm a little anxious." Ning Shu's attitude was very firm. Lance had always been an obedient brother. He could only endure the pain in his chest. He didn't feel good all over. Sometimes his face turned red. He was afraid that he was going to suffocate. Ning Shu patted his back neither lightly nor heavily to make Lance feel better. But his brother was next to him, so he still had to cultivate. What exactly was this? But a few days later, in his meridians, there was a silver thing flowing in his body. Lance felt that there was something wrong with his body. And this thing was completely out of his control. It was entrenched under his navel. It could be seen but could not be touched. Lance was very scared. He felt that he should go for a checkup. Was there something wrong with his body? Or was there some heavy metal in his body? So scary. Ning Shu saw that Lance had finally drawn qi into his body. Because there were many blockages in his body, he could only draw qi through a few comfortable meridians. Finally, it entered his dantian. Fortunately, all the meridians in his body were not blocked. Otherwise, there was no way to cultivate. It was just that their cultivation speed was slower than those with normal meridians, especially those with naturally smooth and wide meridians. The pain of opening up a hole in the blocked meridians was indescribable. Lance couldn't bear it. When he really started cultivating, Lance should start to open up the blocked meridians himself. "Brother, what's inside?" Lance pointed to his stomach, his face a little ugly. Ning Shu smiled and said, "Of course it's the power of cultivation. It's stored in your dantian." Modern science has already proven that the dantian does not exist. It's a made-up thing. Ning Shu. Well, then you can think of it as a different space in your body. You have to cultivate more often. The more power there is. He didn't want to discuss science with him. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.